Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
So unprofessional. Oh, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's the Mark Order Podcast here on the Shining Wizards Network.
That's right.
Let's see. Oh, I got an error message about Twitter. Oh. All right. We'll try and get Twitter. I don't think anybody's listening or watching on Twitter, but looks like we're not live on Twitter just yet. We'll get there. Anyway. What a Wednesday night. AntMoney here. And I guess some people think it's more important to go on a vacation than it is to be here on a Wednesday night. My goodness. So, for all those wondering, well, how are you going to do a show? Easy. Because I picked probably the best special guest co-host that I could possibly find on this planet Earth. He's still technically the co-host of the Dynamite post show for Body Slam. They're currently on hiatus looking for a co-host. And he's half of the Romantics. That's ROH-Mantics. Romantics. Get what we're doing there? With Kylie Fuller on Romanticized Wrestling. They're going to be doing an episode about the Jay Briscoe tribute this week. It's Kyle K. Sparks here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any sound effects. I wish I did because I'd play a giant applause and cheering and stuff like that. Kyle, welcome back.
Thank you, man. Good to be back. How's it going?
Going well. No complaints. Mainly because I don't have to deal with Hollywood egos and the ramblings of a madman here on a Wednesday night. So, yeah, I'm doing just great, Kyle. How about yourself? Last time we saw you, it was one of our Ring of Honor bonus shows.
Yes.
And then we were going to get you back on, and then you sort of big-timed us. No, I'm just kidding. You had other commitments. Which we understand. I'm a dad too, so I get it. I
think I still got heat with Schlong over that. I don't know. It could be rough.
No. No heat with Schlong. I know we were both very bummed when we thought you were going to join us, and then you couldn't. But yeah, how's everything been since last we spoke to you?
Been great. Just living life. Kylie and I have got this good thing going on Romanticized Wrestling. We're looking forward to getting more of that going in the new year. We just did an episode a little bit ago about our thoughts and goals for ROH in 2023. As you said, we're going to be talking up the Jay Briscoe tribute show, which was a great piece of business. And we're just looking forward to talking more ROH in the year to come.
Yeah, and that will be a lot of fun because I know, we've obviously talked to you. You're normally in the chats hanging out on Wednesday nights at some point during the broadcast. And you keep us straight on a lot of the Ring of Honor history. But we love watching, whatever they're putting on screen for Ring of Honor, with AEW right now. So, before we jumped on, I was saying, it's going to be a lot of fun when they start to finally get some consistent, shows on some. I mean, we know they're going to put it on Honor Club, but at some point, if they move off Honor Club, wherever they put it, I'm just looking forward to consistent television from that brand because I think it's a great brand, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff that they do that differentiates it from AEW. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pure division alone is such a great differentiator. It's something that's a lot of fun to work through there. And oh, look what we got here.
Well. I see some bullshit in the chat about, oh, you sure you don't need a third or a fourth host? No, we don't. Because Shining Wizards Matt is here. Oh boy. That's like, you know what, Matt? To
Here we
me,
go.
that's going to be like, your glass shatter. When you hear that, can seal pop, that's Millionaire Matt jumping in.
Hello, fellers.
Hi, Matt.
Hey.
What's going on?
Whoa.
Oh,
Here to talk some wrestling and whatever the hell else comes to mind.
Yeah.
what's up, Kyle?
Man, how's it going, sir? Good to see you.
Looking good, brother. Nice to see you too.
Rocking
See,
a little
Mrs. Money's
Chris
home already?
Hero.
She is home. Yeah, she did mention she saw your lovely wife tonight.
Yes, I know. She texted me to see if she was working.
She did. Can I spill a little? Can I break a fourth wall down here?
Oh, yes, please.
So she told me. So Kyle, my wife went out tonight. My wife went out with her sister tonight, and Matt's wife works right around the corner from here, like literally 5-minute drive. So Mrs. Money was wondering if she was still working. So she told me when she got home, yeah, I texted Matt. And I was like, well, what did you text Matt? And she was like, well, I texted to see if, she was still working. And I said, okay. She said, yeah. But what was weird was that he said, yeah, hang on, I think she's still there. And then came back with, her GPS says she's at work. So she was like, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
Are you
We both
GPS?
share our locations.
You're sharing your geolocations? Look at you.
Yeah, why?
I'm just saying.
I got, bro, and she goes on these hunts. I got to know where she is. If she don't come back, she fucking
point.
drifts out into the ocean.
It's a great point.
And she has to know where I am because I'm a fucking maniac. So, like, when we go to DC for New Japan, she has to know where I am at all times. Because if she's not there to babysit me, well, you've experienced it several times. You know what happens.
I have babysat you. Yes, I do know what happens.
Babysat me. I'm just I've never been like completely out of control where you're like you have to like strap me down to the bed.
No, but we have. It is noted here on this show that there have been numerous conversations about Matt's nighttime hotel antics, where he is talking and singing to himself in the shower and then laughing like a maniac at himself. And then Kyle, probably Kate and my most favorite comment is Matt is laying in bed, the lights are out in the room, and he goes, hey guys, do you dream? Just the questions that you get late at night after a long day of baseball in the sun and then wrestling.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, that's the stuff. That reminds me of I went to New Year's one year out of town with a friend of mine, and he decided as a precautionary measure to write on his hand and his arm the directions through whatever transit system, whatever city we were in, to get back to our hotel, just in case either A, we got lost, or B, he got so damn drunk that he wouldn't be able to function. It's
good thinking.
That's some thinking.
Although it would have washed off of sweat off of my hands in like 2 minutes.
What does Mrs. Money mean when she says, don't say something you'll regret?
That was probably directed at me. Like, don't say something I might regret about her. I don't know. I live in fear sometimes.
Do you and the Mrs.
It's pretty ominous.
Do you share locations?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not going on hunts and doing stuff like that. So
it's all now. It helps too, because right, you're always like, "Oh, take your shirt off on the podcast." Now, if I take my shirt off on the podcast and she comes home, I'll see it.
Oh, okay.
So
does that mean you're going to take your shirt off tonight?
No.
Okay. All right.
I did yoga. I took a shower. I made dinner. Then I said, "Well, I could watch Dynamite, or I could make my weekly appearance here."
Make your weekly appearance. Oh, nice.
Delicious.
It is.
So Matt, we were talking before you jumped in because Kyle obviously is very closely watching, well, waiting for Ring of Honor to get going so he can closely watch. And we were just saying, they have some great stuff associated with that brand. That it's like, let's get this going finally, please. It was nice to see what they put together for Jay Briscoe. Kyle's also, doing a show there that's coming out a little bit later. I don't know if it's coming out this week, Kyle, or if you're just recording it this week and it'll see the light of day next week or something.
Haven't talked about it too much yet. We don't have a real consistent schedule at this point. We're going to record Friday, probably drop it Monday.
Okay, so they're doing a full sort of review on the Jay Briscoe tribute show. But I guess, Matt, since you're here with us now, did you get a chance to watch the tribute?
I watched like the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I just it was nice, it's heartbreaking to watch Samoa Joe just not be able to put a sentence together. And I like that they showed the Jay Briscoe Adam Cole match.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit about Wheeler Yuta and some masked dude. I get what they were going for, but it just didn't. I don't know. I kind of watched an hour and I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like I've seen these Jay Briscoe matches before, and it's it's emotional to watch these guys talk about them and get all choked up. So I was like, I'm good. I've had my, the Mark Briscoe thing that I got to watch last week, obviously because I was working and then late and hanging out with you guys. But that match was super emotional, and I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be enjoying wrestling. Why am I fucking crying watching this fucking shit right now? So I was like, I'm good, and I don't like Wheeler Yuta, so I'm good.
What?
Yeah, he's fucking boring as shit, man.
Is he?
Oh, it's funny. He interrupted. Who the fuck did he interrupt last week?
Hangman.
Yeah,
to set up the match on Rampage.
That's right.
Do I give a shit about Hangman Page is gonna murder this fucking kid? Get out of here, Wheeler Yuta. You're nothing without Lord Steven Regal and fucking John Moxley busting you open like you're a stuck pig. Get out of here.
Hot takes.
With your fucking stupid pure title. You're the least pure wrestler I know.
Who's the most pure?
Jonathan Gresham. Come on.
Okay. Well,
I know he's not there anymore. He's in Impact. There's no maybe D-Bry can be pure.
Well,
he already was once.
That's right, he was.
And Phil doesn't want anything to do with it at Ring of Honor, so we're buddies, by the way, now, me and Phil. He's giving me Phil Brooks.
Oh.
He's giving me all the scoops.
Phil Brooks. Oh, Phil's giving you the scoops?
Oh, yeah. I dropped crazy scoops on the Bread Club that just dropped today.
Okay.
And I kind of teased it a little bit Monday night on the Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Getting all the hot scoops from Phil. We're like BFFs now. I started watching that WoW Wrestling, and his wife is doing commentary, and she's like an executive producer. So we hooked up there, and then she was like, "Oh, do you know my husband Phil?" I was like, "I had a weird dream about him where I was in like a White Castle post office." So yeah, I guess so.
By the way,
now he's giving me the scoops.
It's all fitting together.
By the way,
and Larry are going to go to New Japan.
Oh, really?
They're going to wrestle for the tag belts. Larry's going to take a dump in Okada's boots.
Is it because of the hair?
No, he doesn't have. He doesn't have a problem with Okada's hair.
Okay.
All right, he's going to take a dump in Tanahashi's hair.
Okay.
Because it's awful.
I just usually, anytime you mention New Japan and heat, like your hate or disdain, it's usually because of hair.
Or House of Torture. They got to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Done with that. Plus, we got to get that Punk versus Tanahashi that we never got at Forbidden Door.
Do we, though? Do we really
do that?
A terrible air guitar.
Is it terrible?
What can I say?
It's bad.
I was excited for it. Tanahashi's not my favorite, but I was still excited for it.
Thank you. You know what? Finally, somebody who doesn't think Tanahashi's all that great. Me and Kyle, look at us.
Just two peas in a pod. Birds of a feather.
I have the same exact t-shirt, but it's not a t-shirt. It's a hoodie.
Oh, nice.
So you don't have the same t-shirt.
Well, it's the same logo. Eddie Kingston hates it, too.
Why?
He hates Chris Hero.
Well,
I was at a diner one night with him, and he was like, "Take that fucking hoodie off." I was like, "You don't like Chris Hero?" He's like, "I fucking hate his guts." I was like, "All right, I'll take this hoodie off."
Oh,
makes sense. You probably should. I've seen him walk around with a gas can.
Yeah, bad news.
So,
The flow of the show again.
no, you didn't blow the show. We weren't even really into
Nah.
wrestling yet. Matt,
Nope,
I
we're good to go.
did want to bring up that
Oh,
I'm pretty sure, and I
Yeah.
can double check this right now.
give me it.
Hang on, I'm gonna confirm this. According to this stupid fucking thing.
What, MattLovesPhil.com?
What?
MattLovesPhilBrooks.com? Yeah.
No.
I just-
According to our analytics.
Oh, we have analytics.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Getting
according
fancy
to
now.
the analytics, do you know the White Castle Post Office is still our most listened to podcast?
Matt
He's
is
just basking in it all.
Millionaire Matt is the draw.
I hate to admit it, but he is. The other two, we can leave them, but Matt's the draw.
I've been watching a lot of the show Killer Cruises, so maybe
Killer Cruises.
Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, Cruise Ship Killers. Excuse me.
Same thing. I'll take either one.
Those are very different things. I don't know, man. Killer Cruises sounds much more positive.
Getcha.
Yeah, they're not on the boat yet, right? They're just in Miami, I guess.
Correct.
All right. I did see Schlong is still on the Twitter machine, and I guess he said it's very hot in Miami, and that I guess there's no air conditioning. And I think I told him that last week. Be prepared, because nobody believes in air conditioning. But my favorite thing was he said he did tweet out that apparently Kate got a free room upgrade. And then his room has no working air conditioning, so it's just Miami. I saw that.
Go to Kate's room. What's he doing?
Listen, I don't know.
He
That's
needs
what
to
I
go
would
in
do.
there with just a smile.
Just a smile?
Yeah, and get what's his.
Well,
The air conditioning.
I'm just telling you.
Get your mind out of the gutter, bro.
I'm just telling you that he can at least try what he's going to try on the cruise ship, because he told me he's going to try to take a pool boy back to his room. A young boy, if you will.
Caused a little confusion in the Shining Wizards camp. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'm so happy about that. I really am.
It wasn't me.
It's totally fine. I'm still happy about it.
I saw fucking Grumpy was in here earlier. Where is stupid? We wanted to know if heels is still a thing. He's bringing the fucking funny to the table.
He's one of two people in Facebook, so I barely see it. But that's how old he is.
He's gonna have a couple of them. Schlong's gonna have a couple of them by the end of the cruise. It's gonna be Schlong and the boys.
Ooh, I would go for that. Schlong could use a Schlong and the boys.
Oh, like a spin-off?
There you go.
YouTube exclusive. It could be a YouTube exclusive.
There you go.
YouTube exclusive.
Yeah, like the
Schlong
Adventures of
Boys.
Schlong and the Boys. No,
I know.
podcasting for
Oh
it.
yeah. No, just wacky hijinks.
Yeah, they go on like a Target run. They go get like 40-year-old version. They get their chests waxed.
You didn't. No, I know you're serious, but you didn't see last week when the Concerned Citizen came into this show?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
After I left?
Yes.
Can anyone just fucking log in to StreamYard?
No. You're not understanding me. Ryan had a connection problem and dropped out. And then all of a sudden, a Concerned Citizen jumped in and was talking about some sort of weird conspiracy theories. Now, I'm just saying, if you think you want to offer Schlong a YouTube exclusive video show, you should probably go look at the YouTube of that segment from last week. Because if that's the production we're going to get, we're going to want to second guess that.
Should we be concerned with the multiple personalities?
I'm more concerned with the fact that he has different wigs and outfits for some of these different characters.
I mean, he doesn't have he doesn't collect action figures like us. He's not. I don't even know what Kate spends her fucking money on.
He has no fashion, not like
Right.
this up here, not like that new
And
Danhausen
he's going to
fit.
Flyers
No
games.
fits.
That can't cost a lot of money.
No, they're garbage.
That's just pennies.
Trash.
So I guess you got to spend your money on something. And he doesn't drink and he doesn't do drugs.
It's not that it's not t-shirts because also last week I guessed his entire wardrobe and it was solid colored shirts and I got all of them.
Didn't Asian Joe send him a wrestling T-shirt?
He apparently, now get this, he apparently was bringing 0 wrestling attire on a wrestling cruise.
Why? What was his reasoning?
I don't know. Something to do with the fit of the shirts. Like they're not all. I don't know. I don't know.
Look, Ryan, buddy, I hope you listen to this before you get on the boat or you're watching. I'm not. You see, I take my shirt off all the time, bro. You're on a cruise.
Do
You
it.
don't need to wear a shirt. You're going to see lots of gross people, grosser than you, right? You're going to look at somebody and go, God damn, that guy took his fucking shirt off. I'm good. I saw girls with thongs. Their fucking asses were the size of me and Rihanna's heads put together. Just one
Put
sheet.
together.
They
My
were
goodness.
flaunting it. They didn't care. They're on a
No.
cruise. Enjoy yourself. Get a little crazy. Get bubbly on the Pepsis. And take your shirt off. Enjoy yourself, son.
He's got his soda card.
I think Matt's onto something, man. I'm telling you, there's some folks out there with a confidence on those types of cruises that some of them maybe shouldn't have. But you know what? Good on you. Having a vacation, having a good old time.
I said it last week. I'm on the. I would. Schlong said something about a Speedo or a thong or something like that. I said, Schlong, in a heartbeat. I'm never going to see these people again in my life.
Right?
Let them get the thrill of drinking this in a thong.
Yeah. It's a great idea. And then Kate was over Sunday to watch the footballs. You guys passed like 2 ships in the night. And she's a little concerned because, we've seen her popularity when we go to Dynamite or something.
Let's pump the brakes. She's popular with the people she knows.
Yes, well, but now she's going to be on a boat full of people who only know that. She can't escape.
I guess. I mean, I don't.
And all it takes is one person to go, hey, is that Kate from Fightful? And then dicks come out, bro.
Listen, you and I know that if we were on that boat, we would consistently be around people being like, hey, aren't you Kate from Fightful? We do that at the live shows.
Yeah.
We're just trying to find people who might Kyle, we're trying to find people who might know her and then they glom on and then me and Matt are off.
Yes.
So
Well,
whatever
it takes.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Matt, but I don't know how many people. I don't know.
Be interesting to hear about it next week.
It's going to be interesting. Ryan's also sort of third wheeling because Kate's got her other friend.
Is he the lucky Pierre?
The lucky Pierre? Oof. I don't know about that, Matt. I don't think he's the lucky Pierre, but
You don't think so? Get a couple sarsaparillas going. Ladies are drinking margaritas. The boat is a rocking. We just saw Pockets and Danhausen do a little dance off. Everyone's hot and heavy.
he could be the lucky Pierre. He could.
What happens on the boat stays on the boat.
It's very true. It's very true.
That's a very persuasive case.
Listen, I told them what I want to do next week, and I'll be sure to text them to try to work this out. I would love to have Ryan on first, give his side of the story. Then Ryan exits and Kate comes on to give her side of the story. And then they both come on together, almost like Newlywed Game style, and we compare and contrast. Because it would be amazing. It will be fun to see if Ryan is like, oh, so miserable, this, blah, blah, blah. And then Kate was like, oh, this was so much fun. And they're complete opposites.
Yeah, but Ryan's too positive. He will not say anything was miserable. He would have been like, it just wasn't my thing.
No, you're absolutely right. I do feel like Kate sort of would do the same thing.
Right. Well, she has an image she has to.
It's very true.
She has a public image that she has to like
Mhm.
look, 7 viewers, all her simps aren't here tonight. They know there's no Kate. So they're
If
not
they knew you were here, we'd have 700 viewers.
what are
It's
you gonna
true.
do?
It's true.
The simps come out, the creeps come out for Kate. And
That's
that's
true.
the price you pay for being a female in the wrestling industry, which is completely unfair.
Yeah, I'm hot. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm
this
with
guy's dropping weight like he's got fucking AIDS.
it. Whoa.
But he doesn't. He doesn't. You're
don't.
doing well. You got the stomach gimmick going, and
Mm-hmm.
you're looking great. He came over to the house. He was doing DDP yoga, fucking holding his feet out.
It was the first, Matt. That was just so you know, that was the first time I tried that too. And
I know. I heard you look great though.
Thank you. Yeah, we're working on it. So I don't know. It'll be fun to see that story last week. It will be very interesting to hear if anybody's all piss and vinegar like you were getting back from your cruise. You were piss and vinegar in a good way, not a bad way though.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure you were happy to come back. That answers the question.
I mean, I miss the cats, and I miss my bed.
You're always gonna miss your bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a no-brainer. Nothing's gonna be your bed. By the way, Matt, speaking of your bed, we have a trip planned, right?
Oh, buddy, do we ever?
Kyle, we're going to see New Japan in DC and Philly.
Hitting both.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So what is that, Matt? April 15th and 16th, right?
Oh yeah,
15th and 16th. You, me, and Kate will be in DC and Philly.
Yes,
and then Schlong
and the Doctor.
The Doctor?
The Doctor.
No, really?
Yeah.
What's he driving down for the day?
Not my horse, not my farm, not my problem.
I didn't know the Doctor was going. You extended that?
I extended it in the Discord. You're not there anymore. What are you drinking? Mud water? What is this? Like the fucking Monday night show?
No, it's you can't
Mud
see.
water.
It's red. It's like fruit punch.
Fruit punch?
Crystal Light, my man. There's no sugar.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh.
Fancy pants.
Damn.
No sugar. You ate all the fucking candy in my candy bowl Sunday night, though.
Hey, listen. It was like candy. Yours is the only place I'll have a little tiny bag of candy corn.
That's not my candy corn's gross. It's recycled for years. Who knows how old that candy corn was?
It is gross, but I can't explain it. I see it there. I'm like, I just got to do it.
Because you know how that goes, right? Every November 1st, the candy corn companies send out their little candy corn trolls to go through everybody's garbage to pick out all the candy corn that everybody threw out because it's fucking gross. And they bring it back to the candy corn plant and they just repackage it. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Hundreds.
Maybe thousands. Yeah. Who knows?
There hasn't been new candy corn manufactured since at least the early 1900s.
See, Kyle knows it is neither candy nor corn.
No. And I've seen people do the thing where they're like, here's why it's called candy corn, and they make a corn cob out of it. I'm like, that's not at all. No.
That is entirely too much effort.
Way too much. Well, Matt, I didn't. You're right. I'm not in the Discord as much because I had to take it off my phone because I was looking at it like every 5 fucking seconds.
Sounds like a you problem.
That is. That's why I took it off my phone.
You have to look at it every 5 seconds, but every couple hours, maybe just check in, see what's going down in Tinseltown, baby.
I can't. It was getting in trouble. It was affecting my productivity.
Yeah, take the pulse of the community here.
Yeah, I've got minions in the Discord. I've got people who know what's going on in the Discord. They make me aware of certain stuff. Then I'm like, why don't you throw this up there? You know?
Wow,
interesting stuff.
Kyle, I heard.
Where are you located, Kyle?
Midwest. I'm in Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
He's a Michigander.
Is that a thing?
That is what most people from the state call themselves. I've never really cared for it, but whatever.
See, I know things, Matt.
So with that Michigander, huh?
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't recall being consulted on this, but here we are.
Are you near Battle Creek, Michigan?
I am actually.
Home of Rob Van Dam.
Yep. It's about a half hour away from me.
This guy, what a awesome. That's great, Kyle.
It's very cold there, right?
It is. It is about 15 degrees outside right now. It is not particularly pleasant. We're in a bit of a cold snap right now, but no, we are. Where I'm at specifically is pretty close to halfway between Chicago and Detroit, so I can hit either one. If wrestling companies tour through there. I just went to a Warrior Wrestling show in South Bend, Indiana, a couple of weeks ago. It was a great show. So there's enough stuff that comes by. I'm holding out hope that SummerSlam does come to Detroit as is rumored, and might be able to make that happen. But we'll see.
You ever hook up with that weirdo Milwaukee Tom?
Absolutely, yes. Run into him at a couple of Warrior shows. I ran into him at Forbidden Door. So, yep.
All right. You were at Forbidden Door?
Yeah, I was at Forbidden Door.
I know we knew Tom was there. I was there with the doctor and Joe Walsh and one of my brother's friends, and we knew Milwaukee Tom was there, but we didn't get to run into him. I didn't know if we knew you were there, Kyle. We would have certainly met up.
Oh man,
but that Milwaukee Tom, we've hung out with him before. I don't need to see him again. I'm just kidding. Wow. I love Milwaukee Tom.
Oh,
I had a great time with Milwaukee Tom at Final Battle. The first encounter was a little weird.
No, he was fun. He was perfectly fine, and he was fun both times. But yes, Final Battle.
The first time was weird. Dude, he drove from Philly to New York and then back down to Baltimore.
I mean, that's, again, like
when he could have just gone from Philly to Baltimore. He should have just ate the Airbnb or wherever he was staying. Poor guy.
Didn't they pull over on the road and slept too, right?
Yeah.
Like on the turnpike, yeah.
Like Delaware. We're in Delaware.
Maybe when I was in my 20s I could do that. I don't know about it anymore, man.
No. I would never do that. I'm terrible driving at night. I'm asleep in like 2 seconds at the wheel. Doesn't matter. I'm just like, nope.
So how was Dynamite tonight? Am I going to be happy?
I think you will.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. We're going to talk about it
like $1 million.
Who? I'm sorry.
Timothy.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks great.
He's awesome.
It's very good.
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The opening match was really great. The main event was really great. Danielson Thatcher was really great. I mean, it was a really good show.
I like to hear that. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, they've been on a good streak lately. These shows have been a lot of fun.
Let me tell you what I did watch. From Rampage, I saw Hayter and Emi Sakura, and it was fucking awesome.
Great stuff.
Yes, that was a fun match. When I saw you Sunday, you had asked if I had seen it, and I said I didn't watch it yet. It's DVR'd, and you said make the effort to see that match.
Right, like you did with the commercial.
What do you mean?
The commercial for the network.
Oh, when would you like me to find the time to do that?
Hey, I'm just saying, Tony Z he's losing his mind on Monday night about commercials.
Is he really?
He had a little bit of a meltdown.
Am I I'm the only one who didn't submit a goddamn commercial?
You're definitely not the only one, but you're the only one I threw under the bus.
Oh, of course. Well, if it's any consolation, I'm still playing the old commercials because I haven't had a chance to put a supercut together.
Don't play the old commercials.
I have to.
Commercials.
I need a break.
Be in a fucking Gatorade bottle, man.
I'm playing the old commercials. Kyle, you're going to hear the old commercials tonight.
Look, warning, old commercials. Those are not. The Shining Wizards Network is going through a complete overhaul. We're getting some great new shows.
Has it been redone yet?
We've added 30 screams or less.
That's the only new thing we've got so far?
I don't want to. I know when other things are coming. We're waiting for commercials, so a new commercial block can go out.
Okay. Well, until I get a new commercial.
You want me to make a Mark Order one?
No, I have it. I just have to cut it together. Jesus Christ.
Just like that. Magic.
I do. I just have to edit it down to 30 seconds because last time I think it was like, it could be like 45 seconds to a minute, and now I got to cut it in half.
Cut it in half. 30 seconds. How much do you have to say?
It was 45 to a minute before, so I have to cut it down now.
Every week.
What?
Yeah, all the members of the Mark Order podcast get put over every week in the Patreon read.
Okay.
So it's not like you need a lot. You don't have to say a lot.
Well, can I say this? How come? Who's running the Facebook for the Shining Wizards Network?
I think my wife has called me. I think I gotta go.
Oh, is that what's going on?
I don't know. I didn't even know why. Are you looking to take it over? What are you talking about here?
I certainly don't want to take it over, but I've certainly never seen the Shining Wizards Network Facebook page put out this show's podcast links like they have other shows.
Let me see. Shining Wizards Network. No, not the Shining Wizards. This is good. This is good that you bring this to my attention because I can work on this now.
Sorry, Kyle. This is inside baseball. I'm sorry you have to sit through this.
We're getting shit done.
While Matt's looking that up, why don't we do this? Let's talk a little bit. We talked about, we just touched gingerly right there on the main event of Rampage.
I'm on it, Ant.
Thanks, Matt.
Sorry.
Rampage did have the Hangman Wheeler Yuta face off. Hangman defeated Wheeler Yuta. A perfectly serviceable match where we didn't think Yuta was going to win because we clearly have to get into the match tonight, which we're going to talk about after the break. I thought it was a perfectly fine match. I don't know if you got to see Rampage, Kyle, but no issues. I like seeing Hangman on TV.
Yeah, no, it was perfectly fine for what it was. It told the story that it needed to tell. You saw Hangman, working things out and just continuing to amp up the violence, and he's trying to build up towards this match with Mox tonight. This is something that I'm going to come back to with the Brian Cage Takeshita match tonight. I get that ROH is probably going to be presented as a sort of lesser, or you don't want to say developmental, but as a different style. They're going to be presented as probably a tier below AEW in all likelihood. Sure. But can we not have our champions keep losing on AEW television in singles matches, please? Wheeler's had 2 singles matches since he won the Pure title on television, lost them both. Brian Cage has lost a couple in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
Can we not?
What's tough about that too is that it's essentially AEW talent holding those Ring of Honor titles, and they're being put in these positions with these storylines where they can't win, so they have to lose. It's easily avoidable. Just don't put them into that story. But I'm with you, Kyle. It does sort of take a little shine off the fact that they're a title holder in one brand, and then they can't beat anybody on another brand. So I'm with you. I hear what you're saying.
The matches are great. It's hard to complain about that aspect, but man, you've got a really deep roster.
Yeah. They need to utilize more of their roster to their benefit. And they could find other guys to do that who aren't title holders, but can be certifiable, heels that are trying to get in your way or something else like that. So, yeah.
I will say Asian Joe makes a good point here in the chat about Cage. Yes, about him losing singles matches different since it's not a singles belt, and there's some validity there. I can buy that, but Yuta losing both his singles matches on TV since he won the Pure title. I mean, and those aren't pure rules, so I guess you can sort of weasel your way through some of that. But why put yourself in a position where you have to justify that?
Right. And I mean, my bigger issue with Cage is the fact that, you sort of are positioning him as this monster, and then he's losing these important matches. So it's almost like that, and I'll just, coin this term here. It's almost like the Nyla Rose complex, right? He has all these scrub matches that he'll run through people, and then when something of value comes through, he can't win. It's
the same thing with Lance Archer.
Yeah, Archer's very much in the same. I mean, he did win the U.S. title match, the Texas Death match against Moxley, but
but he has been nowhere since, God, it's been months, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's out there doing stuff. He's just not with them.
Yeah,
so I don't even know what his status is.
He was working New Japan. Well, they say Brian Cage's contract is up very soon.
Yes, that is the word on the street. Is Cage's contract is coming up. Now he's a belt holder, so I think it was last year that he signed, I think, an extension, probably, I guess, for 1 year, right? But the problem was they didn't have anything going on with Ring of Honor television. So, I mean, then I got stuff going and he's just been more involved. And the terrible thing is that his work has been really good as of late. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to try to keep this guy around? Apparently, I think what I had seen in the rumor sheets was that, there were some feelers sent out to the WWE to see if there was any interest there. If they want to pay him, good for him. He's got to get paid. Maybe they'll use him. But
but that's everybody.
I know.
Like, Jay White was trending Saturday for the Royal Rumble because his contract is up soon, but he is still under the New Japan banner. I think it's just par for the course. When someone's contract is going to expire, people instantly assume,
of course,
that they're going to end up in the WWE. But the whole Ring of Honor, it's like a catch-22, right?
Yep.
You have the brand and you own the name and you have the TV time, which you should be using for your AEW talent, but you're putting people out there. It's like if you don't put anybody out there, the name kind of like fades away, right?
Right.
But then you're putting people out there, they're your like champions and they're losing. So it's like, why should I give a shit about Samoa Joe being the TV champion if Darby beat him for the TNT title 3 weeks ago? Why do I give a shit about Brian Cage being a 6-man champion? Granted, it's not a 6-man match, but what's to say take Shida, doesn't find 2 more of his friends and just go beat the rest of the fucking ghouls that are the 6-man tag team champions? Like, why should I care?
Hey,
right.
It frustrates me because I love Ring of Honor and I still have a dangerous thing. I have hope, and I hope Tony Khan does the right thing. I think Claudio's the champ still, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And I think going on fucking dark, right?
He defended against Blake Christian this past Monday on Elevation, and a couple weeks before that, he had a defense against Josh Woods. I'm still a little bit upset that the Josh Woods match was on Dark Elevations. Like that should be a money match for Ring of Honor.
Why isn't that on Rampage?
I mean, because
give it to. I don't give a shit about. I don't know what else was on Rampage. Adam Page and Wheeler Yuta. What fucking terrible women's match I don't give a shit about.
Hold on, I'm getting here. We did get a couple of things.
Squashing somebody.
Yeah, why do I need to see that? Because he's got a book? Who cares? I got books all over my house.
He's writing the book of Hobbs. We did get actually Andretti and Ricky Starks cutting a promo, trying to get their hands on Jericho. That leads to tonight, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Eddie Kingston cutting a promo. Interesting. He says the House of Black is right. The real Eddie Kingston has to come out now. Ortiz has to deal with it. Eddie understands the House of Black and is ready to go home. So I don't know what is going on here. I mean, I know what's going on, but at the same time, I'm like, are we really? This can't be real, right? Eddie Kingston with the House of Black? This can't be real.
No.
Hey, sounds like fun to me.
It sounds like fun, but I just don't know if we need it. I'm just like,
it just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm really trying to sort of like find the words. Like, I just don't.
Wouldn't it go against his whole character where he's like on his own? Like he doesn't trust anybody. Why would he all of a sudden want to be in the House of Black? Like keep your friends closer and your enemies closer or whatever. That's fucking like, no, find some fucking dudes and beat the dog piss out of the House of Black, man.
I mean, and he also doesn't have any extended history with the House of Black, right? Like, I just don't understand what's going on. Like, where's he ready to go home? Is he rebuilding LAX? What's going on? I don't know.
We did have him. He was teaming with Homicide for a while in ROH. Let's bring in Homicide. Let's get Outlaw Inc. back together and let's have them beat the shit out of the House of Black. I could get down for Outlaw Inc. against the Kings of the Black Throne. That sounds like it'd be great.
I would certainly take that. I mean, and they have mentioned Homicide a number of times. So I feel like maybe they maybe they're going to bring Homicide in to do something here. But I mean, we've been saying, how many times, Matt, has it come up between all of us? Like, LAX, this is where it happens, and it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But Eddie Kingston, House of Black, I'll take it. I just, I don't know where this is going. What does he mean he's ready to go home? What does he have to going on with the House of Black? I don't want to see Eddie in the House of Black. It doesn't fit.
No.
That
said, it's Eddie on our TV. So
no, you're right. I'll take Eddie on TV. Matt, I don't know if you know. I'm sure you saw the text messages from Kate. She said this was another match of the year candidate for her. Satnam Singh, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal defeated Danhausen and the Best Friends. Kate said the best part of this episode was Jeff Jarrett.
Spend my days. Look, I get it. I was in the same boat as Kate from Go. But man, it works. People fucking hate him. He is a heat magnet. And it's not X-Pac get off my TV heat. Like, you want to see him get his dick kicked in, and you want to see him lose. Now, I know he used some shenanigans to beat the Best Friends, but that's what heels do. Goddamn.
Of course.
Goddamn.
No, I'm with you. I said the same thing. I constantly am getting yelled at here by other people. Why does he have to be on my TV? And the constant response is, that's why. Because you're constantly yelling about it. You're talking.
Like, he's a legit heel. It's not like an MJF heel where people think he's cool. People fucking hate Jeff Jarrett.
Yes.
You need that. Especially the shit with the Acclaim was fantastic.
I thought it was good. I had no issues with any of it. I have had no issues with what has been going on with Jeff Jarrett. I really haven't. No issues.
He's been perfectly solid. He's done what he needs to do. He's gotten a shit ton of heat. He's gotten the angles over. He's taken the beatings when he's needed to. It's hard to ask him to do anything else.
And look, I'm the first one to complain when the WWE uses a Paul Logan or a Bad Bunny, but like, whoever that fucking guy was that Jeff Jarrett took his Emmy or his Grammy or whatever the fuck he had, like, that dude was on like a late night show and the host showed the whole fucking clip. And they spent like 5 minutes talking about AEW.
Yes, Paul Walter Hauser. I said that was maybe my favorite segment they did on Rampage that week, because that dude got El Kabonged to the shit. I mean, my God. He didn't pull away or anything. He took that shit straight on. So yeah, I mean, that's why you do it. I don't know.
Kabong?
Yeah, you know El Kabong, right?
I don't know El Kabong.
Really?
Oh, it was from the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons from like the 50s or 60s. It was the alter ego of their little horse character, Quick Draw McGraw.
That's it. Kyle K. Sparks.
He'd show up in like a sombrero and a Zorro mask and would just drill people in the head with a guitar.
El Kabong.
I like it. I'm in.
Oh, let's see. There was a Britt Baker, Ruby Soho thing. Blah blah blah. Powerhouse Hobbs defeated Tony Mudd.
Is that what you're drinking?
What? No, that's not. That's what's in your Monday Night co-host pants. Tony Mudd.
That's a good one. We got a good shit story out of our guest this week, whenever.
Oh boy.
What? Everybody poops, buddy.
No problem.
It's true.
Top Flight promo. After beating the Young Bucks, they want to join AR Fox and going for the trios titles.
Yeah, I thought they had the shot because they won the Battle Royal.
No, that was just for money, apparently. What? The whatever it was,
yes.
the Three Kings Battle or whatever it was.
Yes, that was just money.
They were saying on commentary that they were getting a shot at the trios champions.
Well, they were wrong. It was just for money.
Well, clearly they're not wrong if Top Flight is fucking calling out the trios champions, buddy.
Well, you need to watch Dynamite tonight because something else is going to happen with the trios titles.
Oh, come on with the teases, man.
Watch Dynamite, and we're going to talk about it after the break.
I'm done with doing my running.
We also got a Dustin Rhodes promo, thanking the fans for being there after a tough month. And that's when Swerve and Mogul affiliates interrupt and threaten to take out another old man. And then officials get involved before there's any violence, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see what happens there. And then we get to the main event. We get a video package. Red Velvet challenges Jade Cargill to her match tonight. And then Jamie Hayter goes against Emi Sakura in an eliminator title match. And Jamie Hayter winds up winning. But boy, that was a hell of a match. Matt, I know you brought up the match between the ladies. Anything specifically you'd like to mention in here?
I think it's so when people get excited about the women from Japan, either Stardom or TJPW or Chaco Pro or whatever other promotion is over there, I think this match is what you would think of. Right, Jamie Hayter had great chemistry with Shida because they both were familiar with the style, and it showed in this match. These two women told a great story. They beat the shit out of each other, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think them putting the belt on Jamie Hayter might have been – I think it's the best way for them to recover from the Thunder Rosa fiasco, right? Because everyone was hyped for her to have her be the champion, and – not her fault, but she gets hurt, and now we're kind of scrambling to try and figure out who's the next champion. And Toni Storm was a great placeholder, but this Jamie Hayter championship run has so many levels to it and layers. She's got Britt in her corner. She's kind of stole the spotlight from Britt. She still's got Toni Storm and then Paige here doing whatever they're doing over there, and they got this OGs versus these imports. And she's just at the middle like a fucking queen, man. And she fucking rocked it with Emi Sakura. It was a great match.
And the great thing about Jamie Hayter too is the fact that she really just worked herself into a fan favorite. You could sort of see that progression just through her work in the ring. She came in really quietly. Fans were sort of aware of her, but there weren't as many people behind her, and she just kept having good match after good match.
They saw behind her.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna. Those.
Look at that, Cooley.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing with her ring gear. But no, she certainly worked herself. She really did. She just worked her way into having that title and basically just turning into somebody who the fans could support because of the work she did. I mean, it was just a steady build. They really didn't even do anything big with her character. It's the same person. I'm just going to basically kick your ass. I'm a tough guy or a tough girl. And, I'm going to show you who's boss, and that's basically it. I mean, I think she's great. I agree with you, Matt. It's been a really good run for her so far. This match was really good. Kyle, what did you think of this main event?
Oh, this was great stuff. And you talked about the build for Jamie Hayter and how there were probably 3 or 4 times at least where we thought, oh, this is it. This is where it's going to turn. This is where we're going to get – she and Britt are going to break up and break away, and it just kept never happening. And it was, in a way, it was kind of we were frustrated in the moment, but I think looking back, it's kind of nice that they, flipped our expectations like that, and it turned into actually a viable relationship, which was kind of cool to see. The match itself was absolutely phenomenal, as you'd expect. Emi Sakura has kind of been languishing on Dark and Elevation. Putting in good work, but who's really noticing? And she got a chance to show out and did in a big way. This was the first time that they had met one-on-one that I can find since about 2019. They had a singles match that Emi won in Eve and a promotion in the UK. But no, everybody got excited when it was announced, and it delivered.
Yeah, and to your point too about the whole Britt Baker, sort of split that everybody thought was coming and not happening yet. I don't think that's necessarily off the table. Actually think what they're doing right now, sort of with everybody, is actually pretty good work, right? Like this Soraya and Tony Storm, like imports versus originals, or those who feel like they're originals versus imports. Like, I actually think that's a really interesting story to be doing with the women, but it still leaves that. I mean, it could leave that door open after that to do the breakup with Britt Baker. Maybe something happens during this storyline where, yeah, we get to the finish line with it, but something happens in Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter now where it, coming to a head. So, they could certainly find their way back to that. I don't mind that they didn't do it. I like you said at the time, I think we were sort of frustrated. Like, when are they going to do it? But they don't need to right now. I think they're actually doing really good work in storytelling with the women, which we don't say often here, but they're doing a very good job.
Well, Kate wouldn't say it because she's usually in the bathroom, as you know.
She doesn't watch any of the women's matches.
It's true. It's awful.
Yeah, there's no need. Everything's working, so there's no need to rush that breakup.
Right.
Let it simmer, let it sit. Go to it when you need it. You don't need it right now.
No, they don't need it.
And I don't. And this has to end in women's blood and guts, right? It just has to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll happen, and I think again, sort of, we'll talk a little bit about this during Dynamite, because there's we sort of further that story between sort of the newbies versus the OGs. But yeah, I think what we're going to start to see now over the next month or two, maybe, because they have to get to a blood and guts somewhere between the next two pay-per-views, right? Like, that's normally what they do. So I think eventually what we're going to do is start to see more and more people get pulled into the picture, right? Like maybe Athena comes into the import side, you know what I mean? Even though she's, the Ring of Honor, title holder, she could certainly play that role inside with Soraya and Tony Storm.
Right. Where does Sheeta go?
Right. What side does Sheeta fit into? I still think that Ruby Soho can go, to the to sort of the import side of the split. I thought that was going to actually happen last week or the week before, where Ruby Soho came to make the save. I thought she was going to jump in with Soraya and Tony Storm, but she didn't. But I think there's still time that we could see something like that happen. So I don't know. There's Thunder Rosa hanging out there. We don't know what her status is.
How healthy is Stat coming back from the knee injury? She's probably going to be back soon. What other names are there that are out there? Right. Penelope Ford and the Bunny have been in Britt's orbit over the last few months. That could be a thing. Layla Hirsch is got to be due to come back soon.
Yeah, she's got to be coming back soon. I saw her in Atlantic City last time I was there for Rampage.
No, you were there for Dynamite.
What's that?
Oh, and you were there for Rampage.
Yeah, I went to
see her when we went to see Dynamite too.
We did, but she was, I think, still healthy then. And then, or maybe she wasn't, but I just saw her down there when they did Rampage not too long ago here, and she was walking around, no boot, no crutches, no nothing. So she's got to be getting close. Yeah, there's a lot of women's talent that they have that they could sort of, throw into this whole story. I think we're going to start to see it unfold here over the next, month or so. So, and maybe part of that story kicks up at Revolution. We still don't know what they've got planned for Revolution. So, Matt, that was a good suggestion, though. I was planning on watching Rampage when I saw you this weekend, but just hearing the cosign, watch the main event, like, I put some extra emphasis on it. And yeah, it definitely delivered a fun episode of Rampage this week, or last week. And I think it wasn't live last week. It was pre-taped. I will say this: they have to get. I would love for them to get back to doing live rampages. The feeling of those shows is so different than a pre-taped rampage. So hopefully they'll get to do some more live ones. In news and notes, we'll talk. They actually have future sort of touring things lined up. So maybe they'll start to work that into the Rampage schedule. But Rampage, a lot of fun this past week, and we got some stuff lined up for next week that we'll talk about maybe a little bit later.
Are they doing Rampage on the boat?
I don't know if they're doing it on the boat. No, this week I think it's going to be pre-taped.
Gotcha.
Hold on, I'll double check while we're here. Let's see.
While you look at that, Kyle, what's the latest thing you guys talked about on your ROH podcast?
Last thing we talked about was basically we made pitches for 2023 in Ring of Honor, stuff we'd like to see him do, stuff we'd like to see happen. Kylie turned out, we made our list independent of each other. Kylie's was a lot more on the business or on the booking side of things, the in-ring. Mine was a little bit more business focused. For instance, one of Kylie's was bring Action Andretti over into the Ring of Honor and have him be the guy to upset Joe and take the TV title. Very shades of, and I immediately thought shades of Austin Aries in 2004. When he got his shot at Final Battle, everybody's like, it's Austin Aries. It was in 2004. He'd been like 2 years in the business. It's like, this guy's not going to be the guy to beat Joe. And oh shit, yes he did. Play something like that. Mine were more in the vein of like, keep fleshing out Honor Club, because there's still so much stuff that's not on the service yet, and so much more that you can do with it. Things like that. So let's hope that we can continue to do that, and so we don't have to keep reaching for stuff to talk about every week on the show.
Right, of course, yeah. It's coming back, man. We just got it's
almost there.
I think Tony needs to find somebody to do it for him, though. I think he go get Delirious again. Let somebody else just who knows what they're doing.
Yep.
Because I fucking screamed it from the mountaintops. That pandemic version of Ring of Honor, like that pure tournament was awesome. The storytelling they were doing, to hear the plans they had for Vincent and Jay Lethal, like, breaks my fucking heart that we didn't get to see that play out. Like, they had something there, and it's just they need to find somebody who has an idea like Delirious and put him back in charge and let him just kind of leave him to his devices.
Yeah, because with the guys that you're seeing them bring in, the talent that you're seeing, continue to start appearing on Darks and Elevations. I think you're seeing some of the women's talent and some of the talent that they're planning on using there. I think you can see with how they're being presented on the YouTube shows, guys that aren't just getting squashed. Like, oh, this is somebody that they actually have plans for. So the roster is shaping up really nice. It looks like, based on guessing from that, and you got some great champions already in the stable. Let's go.
Please. I'm hoping it kicks off after Supercard of Honor.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say, I could imagine that they're trying to pull stuff together to really get going after the Supercard of Honor. And actually, real quick to what we were talking about, Rampage is going to be taped tonight, so it is not on the boat. Because the tickets were for Rampage or Dynamite / Rampage Dayton. My question to you guys was, and Matt, I know you said you watched the first hour of the Jay Briscoe tribute. Did you guys watch it on through Honor Club or through YouTube?
I watched it on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. I watched it on Honor Club, actually. It was perfectly fine. I didn't really notice anything different.
I will say this. That was brutal to watch on YouTube. Every fucking 10 minutes an ad. So I should have watched it on Honor Club. I still actually have to subscribe to Honor Club. I think once they sort of give an indication of TV is starting here, then I'll, plunk down my $10 and do the Honor Club.
I don't think you need to pay for the TV. I think that's just where it's going to be. And I'm sure if you want to watch it live or the day it gets released, then maybe that's why the $10 thing is there.
That's entirely possible. I think that's how it was with the old when it was under Sinclair too.
Yeah, I mean,
Page, you got it like when it was released on TV, and if you
Right.
didn't, it showed up like 2-3 days later.
Something like that.
I mean, depending on when they're releasing it, if we're going to do anything with this and talk any Ring of Honor, I'd certainly want to see it as close to real time as possible. But still, to have the back catalog as well, I mean, I'd want to pay
Kyle,
for that.
you should have your lawyers draw something up. Don't let them steal your gimmick.
No,
You're
absolutely
the Ring of
not.
Honor guy. Don't let them fucking add it to
Kylie-
the order.
Nah, Kylie and I got this under control. We're gonna be holding it down.
I got your back, Kyle.
Appreciate it, brother.
We all have your back, Kyle.
Yeah, except for Anthony, who's trying to take take your gimmick, bro.
What gimmick?
You just said, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk Ring of Honor when TV shows up. He's sitting right there.
No. Kyle's
Ben
going
talking
to
Ring of.
Yeah. Kyle's joined us to talk Ring of Honor for the pay-per-view post show.
Oh, I know.
And it wouldn't be as an extensive focused breakdown as it would be with Kyle. You would certainly go deeper and wider with Kyle.
I don't trust him, Kyle. Don't listen.
Hey Matt, why don't you have the network wizard lawyers drop some sort of contract and get Kyle's show to come over here?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh man, I don't know.
I'll have my people reach out to your people.
You know how to find me.
I do.
We do. We do.
All right, well, you guys are great. My wife's on the way home. I've taken up more than enough time with my nonsensical bullshit.
It's always nonsensical.
People
but
can't
it's
see
not
me without a shirt on, and they're not getting it. So tough titties, y'all.
You're like MJF. You got to pay for that.
Yes.
You got to make them wait.
Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/Wizards Podcast. There is no tier that says I will take my shirt off, but you never know.
You never know.
You can put it in the requests.
Certainly put it in the request. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can just listen to me take my shirt off. You can't see it. No.
Matt, what if we did a video?
Oh.
What if we did a video and it's you slowly taking your shirt off to different wrestling entrance themes?
Oh, nice.
Once a month.
You got to give me some. I got to hit my target weight here, so you got to give me some time. I got some LBs I got to drop.
But wouldn't that be a great way to follow the progress?
Maybe. It might be a great way to have people not subscribe if they join me for the first one, and then they're like, this guy's gross.
This guy's gross. So
you
Matt,
got to Patreon subscribers vote on which themes to use.
That's how you do it.
Interactivity there.
That's how you do it. So Matt, you've plugged the Patreon. What else are you plugging?
Oh man, I do so many things.
Oh, another one of these.
They're all fantastic. Look, the Wizards podcast, The Shining Wizards, is every Monday night. It's not really a serious wrestling podcast. It's kind of like hanging out with your friends, talking wrestling, busting each other's balls. We have great guests. We just had Josh C on. Kevin Kelly's coming up in a couple weeks. We just like to have a good time and shoot the shit and talk about wrestling, and it's just a lot of fun. If you watch Monday nights, there's a great video out there. We made Kevin watch something that he is not comfortable watching.
Oh, what was that?
So Tony sent Handsome Kevin a video. I guess it's like one of those weird chat rooms where you go in and you're like, looking for to meet people, and it's just like, what was that thing where it was like Uno and you go in the room and it's just people
chat roulette.
Yeah, chat roulette. So someone goes into a chat roulette and it's just this black dude just jerking off, but the person that goes in the room it's a Kermit puppet. So he's got the green screen and it's Kermit. And he's, hello, how are you? And he's like, oh, hi, how are you? You're looking for lesbians too. And the guy's just he's not even breaking stride. He's just still going. And the guy in Kermit voice is like, will you stop fucking jerking off? It's Kermit the Frog here. We didn't get further into the video because Kevin was watching Kermit and didn't realize in the same frame there was a man jerking off. And the minute he saw that, it was like Kevin was holding a hot plate from the oven. He went, ah! And he threw his phone. What is
wrong with him?
He just he didn't get to see the end of it. So, because then the guy's like, the guy who's playing Kermit, he's like, fuck it, we might as well go all in. And then he mirrors the image and then pretends that Kermit is sucking, and the guy playing Kermit is just hysterically laughing, like, "What am I doing with my life?" It's the funniest thing ever. Desperate times, desperate measures, I believe, is what the video is called.
Well, fantastic. So
pretty
if you'd like that sort of B show angle, you can go check out the Shining Wizards on Monday nights.
Why is there like an eight? Why can't we just all be on the same ground?
You need a hierarchy, and clearly this is the top of the mountain where you're at right now on this show. And then just slightly below it.
I think we're all one big family. Why can't we just all be happy with what we are?
We know what's at the bottom, right? We know what's at the bottom. Cancel culture, PC police.
Yeah, I think the midnight jury's out, man. I don't think they're part of the new network.
I'm just saying.
So am I. I'm just saying.
So you've got Shining Wizards Monday, and then you've got a little New Japan.
Oh yeah, Brett. We just dropped Bread Club. Me and Kieran dropped it. Came out this morning. So it's your home for all things New Japan, pro wrestling. Kieran is a wizard with knowledge about New Japan pro wrestling. He's one of the most passionate New Japan fans I know. I don't know how I got stuck with him. Or he got stuck with me because I'm just a fucking jackaloon with him. But we have a really good time, and it's over there on Fightful Overbooked, so you can check it out. It just dropped this morning.
See, Kyle, this is the other thing that happens is I elevate the talent so much.
That's on you, bro. You're not in the Discord. You're not on Twitter. You're not active on Twitter. This is all your fault.
But he's going to take all the credit for...
Somebody's got to lift you guys up and put a light on you and make you look great, and then you're all going to go to Hollywood. And I'm just going to take my 10%.
I'm already in Hollywood, buddy. I got news for you.
That's why I'm AntMoney.
You heard about the pull I have. All right, you know. I get shit done.
He's getting scoops from Phil.
I get scoops from Phil. I'm talking to the cleaner. I'm doing a lot of things.
You are talking to the cleaner. That's fantastic.
All right. Don't, I mean to pat myself on the back like fucking Barry Horowitz over here, but
you're patting.
I'm not going anywhere, though. I can't be shackled. I can't be doing hyper chats or having a boss. I'm not doing any of that.
You're your own boss. You're the boss.
Right? If this thing's going down in flames, I'm the reason for it, all right? Let me fucking destroy my empire.
You're going to be like the captain on the Titanic. You're just going to go down with the ship.
Right, or like a captain of another sinking ship who gets in a boat before the women and children just drives off. Fuck all y'all bitches.
Oh my god. Well,
I'm kidding.
Keep out of the way first.
Kidding. I definitely would knock over a couple kids.
Surely. We know that.
Maybe an old lady,
Oh, definitely.
See, look, Asian Joe knows. I'm the Brian Cage of the network. I got to help elevate others. That's why these shoulders are so wide and my back is so strong.
All right. I don't know. I know I'm here for the Mark Order. I'm not here to promote my shit. Come on.
You got to promote your shit. So check out Matt Monday nights on the Shining Wizards, 7:00, or you do like the 6:45.
We do like 6:50 because there's always some kind of weird, goofy banter at the beginning of the show.
Sure, it's very, very much TBS in the early '90s and the '80s.
Yeah, you got to have the pre-show to the show.
That's right. And then Bread Club on Fightful Overbooked. And check out the Shining Wizards Patreon and the Discord and all that kind of stuff.
Are you the Swolverine of the Shining Wizards Network?
I think you're the Swolverine.
Yeah, because I get my shit in. GMSI.
There you go. GMSI. Get my shit in.
Get my shit in.
All right, Matthew, you go do your thing. We'll talk to you maybe next week.
Yes, I'll definitely do my run-in next week.
You have to, because we're going to have you-know-who and you-know-who back to talk about.
Yeah, but then when I show up, then people are like, oh, it's going to be a 3-hour episode. Here comes the maniac.
And then we catch up like a motherfucker when you leave, so.
Okay. All right, that's good. I don't want to, I don't know what Kyle's situation is. I don't want him staying up till 2:00 in the morning because
he's an hour behind. He's time traveled. We're living in his future.
The Midwest rules.
No, I'm still Eastern time zone.
Look at all this corn.
Now that's yeah.
I'm leaving.
That's more like Iowa, Southern Illinois, Indiana. It's more some of those places. A little bit more of that. But,
You have corn in Michigan?
yeah, we do. We do.
Right. Look at it all.
Just not. Oh
my God,
Kyle! We're getting Asian Joe now. Asian Joe's from Nebraska, so now he's really getting this shit now.
All right. Yeah, leave the corn out of this.
Kyle, thank you for keeping the ship afloat here with AntMoney tonight. You do a great job when you guys talk Ring of Honor. You do a great job with your Ring of Honor podcast with the girl whose name I am not going to say because I'm going to butcher it. Kylie.
It's almost the same as mine.
All right. Well, you know I'm not good with names in the English language, so
that's why I was helping you.
That was great, though, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you, Kyle, and I hope you have fun with AntMoney tonight, talking Dynamite. I'm going to go watch it after I eat my dinner, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right, Matt. Thank you.
Love you guys. You rule.
It sounds like a threat, but we love you, too. We'll see you next week.
No, it's not a threat. I have a good time.
I know. We have a good time, but it sounded threatening,
always,
and that makes it dangerous.
I'll see you handsome fellers next week.
Thanks, Matt. So Matt left, but don't you guys out there leave. We're going to take a short break. We're going to play some old commercials until I get...
Don't go anywhere. Don't play those fucking commercials.
I'm playing those old commercials until I get new ones. And then we're going to be back and we're going to talk about Dynamite. It was a really fun episode of Dynamite tonight. Some news and notes, and then we'll be done. So stay tuned, and we will be right back here on the Mark Order Podcast.
Everyone knows a lot of things can change in the span of 10 years. But when it comes to professional wrestling podcasting, one thing is still guaranteed. The Shining Wizards is the only place to get all the latest wrestling news, interviews with the greatest guests, and of course, tons of laughs in discussing the world of wrestling. The show is still available on Monday nights at 7 p.m. East on rantdmradio.com and Rant Entertainment Media on the TuneIn app. And it's still available on all podcasting platforms. To check us out, head over to shiningwizards.com, where it's still wrestling talk and talk about wrestling.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
Horns up, everyone. One on the Shining Wizards Network. Be sure every Friday to check out Radioactive Metal. Radioactive Metal is one of the longest running podcasts on the interweb. And every week we bring you a fist full of metal, including interviews with all your favorite artists, discuss all the metal news, and feature the best tunes on the air today. So grab a Lemmy, join your cool Uncle Snowy and co-host Aaron in the pit.
Your recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting from the current to the way back. Join the impact player Phil Brea and the Portuguese man of war Choppy for the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Live every week on rantemradio.com. Get all our episodes over at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio Boom, Google Play, ShiningWizardsNetwork.com, and TurnbuckleThrowbacks.com.
Are you tired of being told what to think and believe by Hollywood elites and politicians who just don't care about you?
Tired of not getting the truth when you watch the news?
Tired of trying to figure out what pronoun to use?
Tired of mob mentality when all you want to do is think for yourself and make up your own mind?
That's where we come in. This is Justin.
And Vince.
Your host of Inconclusive Breakdown.
We are a weekly anti-PC podcast bringing you entertainment and current event news without any spin.
If you want to truly stay informed on what's going on in the world, then give us a listen every Sunday, anywhere you get podcasts, at least till Zuckerberg and Twitter Jack deplatform us.
And as always, we're proud members of the Shining Wizards Network.
Tired of the PC police telling you what you can and cannot say? Want a show that travels back to the 80s and 90s, where the badass hosts have beaten down cancel culture on 3 separate occasions and carried on to gloat about it? Since 2013, The Midnight Jury is that show. Travel back to the malls and arcades, pop in your VHS, and join us where the 80s and 90s return from the dead. Conan, tell them where to find us.
WLWstudios.com, home of the Midnight Jury podcast hosted by Midnight Mike and Calvin Brody.
Also available on all major podcast platforms via the Shining Wizards Network, and join in the conversation on Twitter at Midnight Jury.
What's up, wrestling fans? You want something awesome? Check out Wrestling Night in Canada here on the Shining Wizards Network. We're 3 Canadian metalheads uniting for the love of pro wrestling. Every episode we go over all the latest news and special events with the odd unique interview as well. So grab a cold one and check out Wrestling Night in Canada, eh?
All right, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast. Every week I say it, I got to get in touch with Uncle Snowy. I got to get on that radioactive metal at some point. That's right in my wheelhouse.
Synergy.
I got to do it for the network, right? I mean, I got to do it. I mean, although I'm not trying to encroach on his place, but Mrs. Money and I are talking about maybe doing a side music thing. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Let's do just a couple plugs real quick and get that out of the way. One is follow us on our socials at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And when you're there, you can hit up our link tree, and you could support us in a couple ways. If you would like to spend any of your hard-earned dollars on us, you could click the link to our Pro Wrestling Tee store. And you can find our t-shirts there. We have about 4 shirts up. 2 of them are front prints only. 2 of them are front and back print. So if you'd like to financially help support us a little bit, you could feel free to pick up a shirt. I have said it over the past 3 weeks. I have some phone calls to make. My weekends have been getting away from me. So a couple people have ordered shirts over the last, few weeks. I owe you phone calls. You'll get them. You'll get them this weekend. I promise you. You'll get your calls. And if you're not in the link tree, you can always find our store at prowrestlingtees.com/markorderpod. The other thing, Kyle, people could do is they could request free stickers. No shipping and handling, no deposits needed. Don't follow all that fake Hollywood fake news that some other hosts on this show will try to slide in. You just have to go to the link tree, click the button to request free stickers, give us your name, your email address, your mailing address, and the country you live in, and I will send you out some of these free Mark Order podcast stickers. That's right. I personally will send you some stickers, and I've got fun stamps. I've got some Christmas ones left over. They're elves.
Ooh.
I've got American flags because America. There might even be some otters laying around somewhere still. Anyway, we thank everybody who decides to support us in any way. So whatever you do, we thank you for that. And now, Kyle, let's get to Dynamite. It was a fun show tonight. We've talked about that a few times, saying how fun the show was. So let's start to break it down. We open up hot this week. We open up hot with Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley. Moxley is accompanied tonight by his father, Dan, and Wheeler Yuta. And then Hangman makes his way to the ring. They brawl outside for quite a bit before getting into the ring, and the bell officially starts. Now, cutting to the end of this match, Moxley wins by reversing a bulldog choke into a pin. And post-match, Hangman is still upset. And he's sort of going at Moxley. He's not really trying to fight him, but he's trying to get in his face. And Claudio and Wheeler come down, and that's when Moxley sort of regains, his, consciousness, I guess, whatever. And he gets up, and they have to hold Moxley back to keep him from attacking Hangman. Moxley's doing the snow angels on the ring, sort of a little jab at Hangman. and the Punk angle. And then Page does some push-ups to show he can still go. They give each other the finger, and then eventually we break off and we go to a video package for the main event, which was Darby Allin and Samoa Joe. So a lot going on here, Kyle. I have some thoughts on this, but I'd certainly like to get your thoughts, and depending on, that might lead to sort of some of my points. So what did you think of the opener here?
Oh, great stuff. Just an unhinged, out of control brawl. I thought it was really nice to see 3 generations of Moxleys come into the ring, between Mox, his dad, and his second adopted son, Wheeler Yuta. Still no love for Shooter Umino, though. So come on, that was Mox's first child, so we need to do something about that. But this was just the crazy kind of unhinged brawl that everybody thought it was going to be. I might be off on this, but it looked like Hangman was wearing the same gear that he wore when he made his return after his child was born at that casino ladder match back in October of 21 on Dynamite, which, of course, he came down and him and Moxley brawled on the top of the ladder. So I don't know if there's some significance to him choosing to use that gear there. The thing that I kept coming back to in this match was Hangman behaving and acting and fighting in a way that's not necessarily him.
Right.
Like, he tried to use Danielson's trapped arm stomps, lost his grip and failed it almost immediately. He beat Wheeler Yuta on Rampage using the Death Rider. So he tried to use the Bulldog choke, and it led to him getting pinned. At one point, it looked like coming out of the corner, he might have been going for a Regal knee trembler.
Yes.
And he missed that. And, he throws a super kick like the Young Bucks. You remember he said a couple of weeks ago he needed to mend some fences. Even Excalibur made a point of it. He pulls out a small package driver, which Seth Rollins used on the Indies back when he was Tyler Black. So you're seeing all these other bits and pieces of wrestlers from Mox's past or Hangman's past, and Hangman's being everybody else but Hangman.
Right.
And it gets him beat. But it gets him beat in a way that it's like Excalibur also made a note at the end. This wasn't really a definitive win for Moxley either. That's why both of them were still kind of ready to scrap some more.
Yeah, part of me, the only problem that I sort of had with it was the fact that Moxley wound up coming out on top. One, because I almost feel like, and I know Hangman fought Yuta on Rampage, so it's not his, sort of second match back, and he had his win. But, I almost feel like you're going to do this to Hangman now. Like, he just came back. Why is Moxley getting the win? I thought Moxley was going to go on some sort of extended vacation, right? And the only other thing that really gives me pause about that too is, like, I don't want to see Hangman go back into his shell. I don't want to see them run the angle again where it's Hangman not being sure of his ability, right? And what happened post-match, I was texting with some people and they made, the same point. I mean, I didn't make it in the chat, but they made sort of the point was that it doesn't seem like that's where this is going based on the post-match antics from Hangman. But it's just that thing that it has to sit in the back of your brain, because we've seen it a lot with Hangman in AEW, where he can't get that sort of win, and now he doubts his ability, and then he's got to build himself back up. I just don't want to see it anymore, because Hangman's the shit, and he's got all the ability. I do see your point, Kyle, and I didn't actually necessarily think of that until you were saying. You're right, he was pulling out a lot of stuff that's not his normal repertoire. So the influence of all of these other people certainly could be contributing to what's getting in the way right now. And maybe that's sort of the part of mending fences that's going to find him sort of becoming more popular, sort of getting back to his roots. And again, we sort of talked about it here I guess a couple weeks ago when he made that comment about, mending fences. Who were those fences, right? Like, what needs mending? Is it the Dark Order? Is it the Elite? Is it even Adam Cole, right? Like, because there's a whole thing with Adam Cole in the Elite, there's a lot of ways they could go. I just don't want to see him go back to that trope of, well, shucks, I don't know if I'm good enough, and then have to build himself back and sort of pull himself out of there. It doesn't seem like they're going that way. And Eric Freeds asked the question in the chat, and Hangman going heel. I don't know if I see that, but if he does go heel, he can play a great heel. I mean, his time in Ring of Honor playing the young, cocky, like next big thing, when he was with the Bullet Club was fantastic. So he can definitely play a heel. But I don't know if that's where they're going. Like, they just haven't given any clear direction, which is fun, but I just don't know where we go next.
Well, I think I'm choosing to believe that the mending fences was much more in the vein of with the Elite than with the Dark Order. I think Dark Order, for the most part, is fine. It's what it is. I think they're in a pretty steady spot right now. The Elite seems like an obvious choice. I noticed, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, post-match in the scrum, I noticed a lot of attention with Hangman and Claudio.
Yes.
And Claudio staring daggers down Hangman as he made his way up the aisle after everybody left. There's no real clear challenger for Supercard of Honor yet either.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't hate Claudio versus Hangman there.
No,
it'd be a first time match. It would really deliver, and you know what? Let's go for it. Reunite Hangman with the Elite, and give me Hangman, Kenny, and the Bucks against BCC.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if you're running women's blood and guts, maybe you're running men's blood and guts. Something like that happen.
You could, sure.
You can go in a couple of different directions there, but no, this was great stuff, and I think I don't think they would go down the road like you said with Hangman doubting himself. I think you might flirt with that, but I think that's can be just as simple as one good affirming conversation with the Bucks, which he hasn't had in a long, long time, and I think things snap into place for him.
Sure. Yeah, to your point too about Claudio, I noticed the same thing, and that's immediately what went through my brain was this could be the Supercard of Honor main event, And Kyle, you'd have to refresh my memory. Did Hangman ever hold the Ring of Honor World Title?
He did not. The only title he ever held in Ring of Honor was the 6-man titles with the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. I knew that. I just couldn't remember. Yeah, because I think that was something that a lot of people sort of... I remember I was watching a lot of Ring of Honor at that time, and they were running a lot of New York, like big New York shows. They ran a bunch of Final Battles and stuff that we would go to, and everything was really awesome. Everything was awesome, and then, of course, they left and sort of sent Ring of Honor into a tailspin for a little bit. But, yeah, I think that was something that a lot of people sort of thought was like, he never held that title, and he was like the one that a lot of people thought like he's the next guy, right? So maybe they do run him and Claudio. And honestly, Kyle, to me, whoever would come out on top there, I don't have a problem with. If Hangman took that title, I don't have a problem because he's got that true. I mean, Claudio does too, but he's got a lineage to Ring of Honor as well, right? So it would sort of make sense. And then when they decide what's going on with Ring of Honor television, you can always pull it off him and put it on somebody who's a Ring of Honor mainstay. Like, there's no problem there.
I want to say that I'm trying to remember if Cole was, or if Hangman was ever in the top prospect tournament that they used to run. And you know what? He was. He was in the 2013 version, the second version of the tournament. I just had to look it up just now.
Yep.
Got eliminated in the first round by Silas Young. Matt Taven went on to win the tournament. Also featuring names such as ACH, QT Marshall, Tadarius Thomas. Page broke in Ring of Honor. So he absolutely has that cred. He was in the Decade with Roderick Strong, BJ Whitmer, and Jimmy Jacobs. He was their young boy for a while before he sort of grew out of that and had a great feud with BJ Whitmer. Then a couple months later, he caught on with Bullet Club, and that's when he really got the rocket strapped to him. So I don't think that he is a guy that Tony would book there long term.
Sure.
As champion, I think he's too valuable to AEW, but as a transitional guy, I could absolutely see it.
Yeah, and it just makes sense. I mean, again, if they ran that at Supercard of Honor, to me it wouldn't matter who won, because both guys would do a great job sort of holding that belt for however long they're going to decide to keep it with them. Because I don't think either one of them are a long-term, champion once they get onto regular programming.
I don't know. I did say in my last ROH piece with Kylie, one of the things I wanted for ROH in 2023 was a nice long title reign for Claudio Castagnoli. I specifically mentioned the reign that Bryan Danielson had when he would send out open contracts throughout the wrestling world, was the idea. And all these different guys from different promotions would come in and try to take the belt. Steve Corino came in from 0-1. Chris Sabin came in from Impact. Chris Hero came in from CZW. And on and on and on. Naomichi Marufuji came in from Noah. And let Claudio do something like that and let him get all these dream matches out of the way, because he's 40, 41, 42, right in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's getting up there. Let him start racking off those matches. Yeah,
and with all the relationships, the working relationships they have with other promotions, it's totally possible for that to happen. Tony did make mention when they did talk about sort of the Honor Club and everything that they were going to have something with New Japan, and they've clearly have a working relationship with New Japan. And, we know that they have a relationship with CMLL. Is it CMLL or AAA or maybe both? I don't even know anymore.
I thought it was better with AAA, but New Japan is working with CMLL, so that's what makes it a little complicated.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting mixed up. I always mix up CMLL and AAA. You're right, it is AAA. But still, like they have so many ways they could bring guys in that that could totally happen. But we'll see what's next for Hangman and Mox, because it clearly doesn't seem to be over. So maybe they're going to line something up that's a little bit bigger and badder for Revolution. I saw a bunch of people saying maybe a last man standing match or something like that. Could be a tough sell. I mean, maybe not a tough sell, but if you're putting a 60-minute Iron Man on that card, you might not want to throw too many other matches like a last man standing, onto that same pay-per-view. But pardon me for hitting my mic, but I wouldn't be mad at it, to be honest. So
Texas Deathmatch
could do that as well. You're right. So moving on, we go backstage to Jamie Hayter being interviewed by Renee Paquette, and she's also there with the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. And the Bunny requests the time, so she starts off saying she knows Hayter won't back down from a challenge, and she wants an eliminator match next week on Dynamite. And Jamie is happy to accept. And then Renee gets word that something's happening. Can we go to it on the screen here? And it is Saraya and Tony Storm beating up Dr. Britt Baker. And they throw her into a garage door, and they're asking, where's Jamie? And Jamie sort of leaves where she is to try to go find them. But they kind of cut away before anything else happens. I guess Jamie's too late. They seem to get the best of Britt and walk off. So clearly we were talking about this whole, imports versus originals. That is continuing here. We're actually going to come back to this a little bit later on, Kyle. But,
yes.
As far as what's going on with Jamie Hayter, I like this match for next week. The Bunny's been doing really good work lately. I know there was sort of like this short period towards the start of the year where She sort of disappeared for a minute. I know she was like sick. It wasn't COVID, but she was sick with like the flu or something for a couple weeks. She was supposed to, I think, be in a sort of like a high visibility match or something, and they had to sort of pivot. So I'm glad to see she hasn't sort of lost her spot. She's been doing pretty good work, and this could be a really great match next week with Jamie Hayter and the Bunny.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie's been on obviously an insane hot streak lately. She's been putting out fantastic matches, and Bunny is super underrated in ring. So this has definitely got the potential to be sort of a sleeper quality match.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we'll see it next week on Dynamite. And then we go to our next match, and it's the Acclaimed. They're in action. And they're going to be going against the Outrunners, which is Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd. And they do the whole gimmick. The Acclaimed do the whole gimmick, coming to the ring. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. Scissor me daddy ass, the whole thing. Well, the Outrunners try to scissor themselves in the ring, and then they do, but they really then just get the shit kicked out of them. So we come away in the Acclaimed is able to win by pinfall with the mic drop from Max Caster on Truth Magnum. But the real story is what happens post-match, because the Ass Boys make their way to the ring with the mic in hand. They congratulate the Acclaimed and remind them they asked for a title shot and they want their answer now. So Bowens, says, let's see what the people want. And they ask Dayton to chime in. And the people of Ohio sound like the Ass Boys don't deserve a shot. So they say, nah, no shot. And the Guns don't take kindly to that. And Daddy Ass says he's sick of this before these guys can sort of get at each other's throats. He's done. He's leaving. They can beat the shit out of each other. And so he starts to make his way up the ramp, but that's when his sons accuse him of turning his back on them all over again. And they tell him that he can drown his sorrows in the bottom of a pill bottle. Well, Daddy Ass doesn't take too kindly to that. He comes around, gets back into the ring, and after a microphone snafu, apparently, because we could hear it on TV, but it sounded like, I guess it wasn't live in the arena. He says, he asked them if they're ready, or if they think they put their big boy pants on. And he tells them, well, you want your title shot, you've got it. The Acclaimed looks a little surprised because Daddy Ass basically just accepted the challenge for them. And then the Ass Boys pretty much turn around to the Acclaimed like, there you go, we got what we wanted. Like, we sort of set you up for this. So looks like next week, they said, as long as Tony makes it official, and of course it's going to be official, we're going to get the Ass Boys versus the Acclaimed in a tag team title match. So Kyle, the match was what it was, right? We just get to see the Acclaimed and continue the story. So I don't know if we need to necessarily spend any time on the match. You certainly can if you'd like. But to me here, the one thing I want to say is this. I don't hate what the Ass Boys have to offer. Like, I really don't. I don't understand why some people really just don't like them, and they're like, I don't want them on TV. This is stupid. But you know what? We've talked about it here on the show, and I'll say it again. We talk about having to lift up the guys who are underneath all of the talent to sort of have this next crop of guys ready to go at some point. And I truly think that the Guns are in that group. I don't think what they can do in the ring is bad. I think what they offer is very good. This story has been sort of thrown together like rather quickly because we were all sort of like, who's the next contender? And it's the Guns. But I really don't necessarily hate this. So I'm all for it, and it should be a fun match.
Yeah, I mean, the Guns have been perfectly serviceable. They've been a perfectly solid tag team. They can talk well enough to get the angle over. They can handle themselves in the ring. They're not going to be, setting the world on fire, but they're a perfectly serviceable team. That being said, I'm just not sure that I dig where this story's going. If this were another company, I would be convinced that this is a long play double turn by Billy Gunn, and we're going to have him turn on the Acclaimed for no good reason and put the titles on the Guns. I don't think that's what we're going to get here. If we do, I feel like that would be the stupidest possible ending. But you have to admit that it's now at least a possibility. It's now at least in play.
Absolutely.
I don't think the Guns should be champions right now. They're perfectly serviceable, but they are not the team at the top of the division. So, and to be honest, everybody kind of came off as terrible here. The Acclaimed were just big timing all over the Guns and kind of healing over it.
Yep.
You know, the forever champions, the winningest tag team in AEW, ducking challengers. Meanwhile, the Guns are not winning any congeniality contests either, with all of the stuff that Austin is throwing at Billy. Like, everybody comes off terrible. What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's a great point, because I sort of felt the same thing. Is I felt like, you poll the audience and you're like, you want a title shot? No. You know what I mean? Like, that is sort of like the heel thing to do, right? So I agree with you there. I don't, and to your point too about the Billy Gunn, double turn long con, that definitely went through my mind. And I could certainly see that happening, but I am with you. I don't think this is, I don't think the Guns deserve the titles. I don't think they'll win the titles. Billy Gunn could still go back to his boys, but maybe they do it in such a way where, like, the Acclaimed just really rub their face in it, and Daddy Ass is like, whoa, like, come on, cool it. You won, and then he sort of like turns back to his real sons. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a weird place they're in right now. I don't think the Guns get these titles. I will be utterly shocked if they actually walk away winning the belts next week.
I do think you make a really interesting point, though, with the idea of maybe a double turn there. Maybe the Guns get, vanquished and beaten and everything else, and Billy sort of comes to his senses and realizes that, Austin and Colton made some valid points in the therapy segment and in everything else. And, maybe I need to be there for them now and help them in this moment. And the Acclaimed can go back to healing it up a little bit. And maybe that freshens up some matchups for them down the way. Maybe you can toss Dark Order into the tag team title scene if you want. Maybe you can toss Best Friends into the tag title scene, and you can mix that up, and you can play with some of that and really extend the length of the title run that way, because I think the Acclaimed are still hot. I think there's still mileage in the title run, but I think a heel turn could do some interesting things there.
Yeah, it's just what's interesting about this whole thing too to me is, when we sort of look at where this is all taking place, right? Like, this is happening before the pay-per-view. So whatever happens out of this has to lead to some sort of feud that will be resolved, or at least for the time being be resolved at Revolution. So if you're doing the Guns now and they're not winning the belts, then you have to be setting something up for the Acclaimed for Revolution, because you're not keeping them off the pay-per-view. But if the Guns win, the only thing I think you could hypothetically do is run it back at Revolution. And then I almost think like you're showing your hand there, where it's like, well, the Acclaimed are going to win these belts back just like they did before. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know where they're going with this. And to your point too, there's a lot of talent in that division. It's not the Guns' time to be on top of the division, but they're serviceable. They're a team, an established team. couple years down the line, could they be in some sort of picture, maybe with more time and exposure and stuff like that? Sure, but this isn't the time. So I just don't know what's going on here. Double turn, maybe, but
Yeah,
who
I think you
knows?
can execute that. I think you can execute that double turn without flipping the titles, and that might be an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be what happens. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of as you know, Millionaire Matt would say, a lot of spoons in the porridge with this story. So we'll see where they go. That match could be a lot of fun. So we'll see how that looks next week. We do get a short Jungle Man Jack Perry interview backstage where he's asked about sort of Jungle Hook. He said he's had an amazing time teaming with Hook, but he's done the tag thing before, all the way to the top of the mountain and all the way down. And this year, he's going to win a singles title. So looks like we're splitting up Jungle Hook, which nobody thought we were going to get a long-term thing out of them anyway. I think it was just to get a little bit of exposure for Hook. And just now having him sort of say, I'm going to win a singles title, it just makes you wonder sort of like, okay, where are we going with Jungle Man, right? I don't see him as a world title holder, not because of his ability. He just doesn't seem to be the guy who will carry the company, right? So certainly a TNT title, that seems to be something that maybe we could get out of him, because you want the guy who holds that title to sort of defend it on a weekly basis or a regular, semi-regular basis, right? So maybe that from him. Maybe they decide to do something with Ring of Honor, right? He could go for the television title. He could go for the pure title, There are a number of singles belts within their umbrella and outside of their umbrella that he could go for. But I do think we need to start to sort of push Jungle Boy to this singles run now, like they're sort of lining up to do, right? Like he did the tag thing. He had this thing with Christian, and then Luchasaurus. And to be honest, I had always felt like maybe they were going to come back to Christian, but maybe his injury, it's just not good. The time for him to come back is not as quick as it is. So they sort of haven't been able to resolve that. So maybe we're moving on and he's just going to go on a singles run. I don't hate it. I think he needs to do more singles work. He's a great athlete, and what he does in the ring is a lot of fun. So, who knows? Maybe he's going to be the person who goes for the TNT title next, and maybe that happens at Revolution.
I don't hate that idea. We had a point a while ago where Jungle Boy he knocked off Wardlow. He knocked off Brian Cage. He knocked off Luchasaurus, and we were almost running a Jack Perry as Giant Killer kind of thing. It wasn't really called as such, but it had that kind of vibe to it. And you could absolutely do something like that with Joe to get him fully off of AEW television and transition over to Ring of Honor, where he can, continue to defend the TV title there. That said, I think that could be a lot of fun. The All Atlantic title is still a possibility as well.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
Orange Cassidy has not defended that in a hot second, so we need to maybe get that off of him sometime soon.
Sure.
A lot of options there, and I don't know what Christian's status is either, but there exists every possibility that you could have that moment where Jack Perry has won the, say, TNT title, and he's in the midst of his celebration. Hit Christian's music, hit the attack, all the heat comes pouring down, and we get the one final blow off, this time with a title on the line.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, they need to blow it off and resolve that story. It was never fully resolved because of the injury. So yeah, I wouldn't hate that. But I think what we'd sort of agree on, everybody, as we've talked in weeks past on this show, Jack Perry, I think we're all big fans of what he's got to offer. And he's definitely a star. He's been one of those guys where people say he's a pillar, and they're absolutely right. So let's push him. Let's push him sort of to a belt. Let's get him on TV. Let's see what he could do. And it's going to be interesting to see after this promo what his first sort of foray into some sort of singles run is going to be. So we'll see what happens. We get into our next match of the night, Kyle. It's Brian Cage versus Takeshita. And this was all set up from last week's attack on Bryan Danielson after his post-match with Brian Cage. Takeshita makes the save and is able to run off Cage, so now they've got a problem. So this match took place tonight, and I'll tell you this. Takeshita just continues to impress me. I mean, we've seen what he can do in the ring, but Brian Cage is a little bit of a different beast. And when you are able to, hit, a couple brain busters on Brian Cage, when you're able to hit that, the power bomb, not the power bomb. Well, yeah, I guess it's a power bomb. It's
that too.
The
Blue Thunder Bomb.
That's it. Yep. When you're able to hit those moves on a guy the size of Brian Cage, you definitely are showing something else, right? So
and made it look easy too.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the other thing I was going to say. I was very surprised by how effortless that Blue Thunder Bomb looked, as well as those brain busters. I'm still
not sure that we've scratched the surface on just how good he can actually be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and just sort of close the loop on the match. Takeshita does win by pinfall with a running knee strike, so he does come out on top here. Brian Cage also, I don't want to sort of have him get lost in the mix too, because I think this is just more really solid work out of Brian Cage. I mean, it's been known here. I've said it before. I'm not a huge fan of Brian Cage. Sometimes his character seems a little flat to me. Like, it's like, we get it. You're a machine, whatever. But like, his in-ring work has been just really, really good over the last couple months. So just, he did a fantastic job of helping Takeshita look great. He got his shit in tonight, as he always tends to. And I thought this was just a really great match. Like you said, just scratching the surface of what Takeshita has to offer.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that I know I'm not always a huge Cage fan. He's good. He's solid. But when you're putting a guy in the ring with Willie Mack, Bryan Danielson, Konosuke Takeshita, like, he's going to look good.
Right.
He just is. That being said, Prince Nana and the Embassy is such a great fit for Brian Cage. It's
absolutely
a phenomenal fit. Nana is so good. He elevates everybody he's out there with, and something about the pairing just works in a way that Team Taz never quite did. And I can't put my finger on quite what it was, but it just works. It clicks.
Yeah, and maybe it was just the fact that, like, with Team Taz was never a ringside, like, really a ringside manager, right? He I think he was at ring for a couple matches. A lot of that time was sort of over the pandemic. So when we were in lockdown, they were trying to get as many people sort of around the ring and stuff like that as possible. But Nana is so involved that maybe that's the difference, right? Is he's just more involved in the matches, and sort of his character and the psychology, everything makes sense to sort of how it fits in with Cage. Taz was way more hands off and just sort of would be the mouthpiece, but he wouldn't be at ringside every match to get involved. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Nana gets involved with every match, but he's always in the back of your brain. because he's at ringside. Like, he can get involved.
Yeah, he's
So-
active, and
Yeah.
you go back to the Ring of Honor glory days with the Embassy and the Crown Jewel Jimmy Rave, and the glory days of the Embassy always had that one guy that the focus was on, and like, this is my guy, and this is the one, and that already fits so much of Cage's aesthetic and presentation of wanting all the attention and the posing and the gloating, and it meshes so well, and it's just a great pairing, and I hope that they're able to re-sign Cage and continue that.
Well, I think they'd be foolish after seeing what Cage has been able to do over the last 2 or 3 months, the work he's been doing, the stories they've been getting him involved in. He's just been doing a great job. So I think they'd be foolish not to try to bring him back if he doesn't get some sort of giant money offer from the E. But, we'll see. We will find out what's up next for Takeshita. We know Cage is sort of up in the air right now, so we'll see what happens. But we move into a backstage interview with Renee Paquette and the JAS. And Renee says, hey, we saw, the cheating last week. People are sort of questioning that. Well, Jericho doesn't take kindly to those kinds of accusation. And he just insists that Ricky Starks didn't get beaten by a bat. He got beaten by the JAS. But if Ricky wants another match, well, Sammy and Danny came up with a plan for him. And it's the Guevara Garcia or Garcia Guevara. Sounds like they settled on Garcia Guevara gauntlet. And basically, it's explained by Daniel Garcia that Starks is going to have to be, or Sammy Guevara, Starks is going to have to beat Angelo Parker. And if he gets past Cool Hand Ange, he'll have to beat Matt Menard. And Matt Menard, I'm sure his nipples are hard at the thought of that.
Absolutely.
But if he gets past Matt Menard, then he's going to have to beat either Daniel Garcia or Sammy Guevara. They said they're going to decide, if he gets to that point, night of, they'll decide who he's going to face. And then, and only then, if he manages to get through that, he can have Chris Jericho again, who's going to be ready to whip that ass. So we've seen this a few times in AEW, running the gauntlet. Like, Danielson's sort of involved with that right now. They've done this, I think, before with, if not the JAS, the Inner Circle. So my only beef here, Kyle, is like they've used this angle so much.
Yeah,
that
gone
to me
this
it's
well a lot.
Yeah, it's getting tired. But I will say this: if I get to see Angelo Parker, Matt Menard, Garcia, and Guevara, always great in the ring, and it's all to get Ricky Starks more exposure, I'm all for this. I'm all for it.
Yeah, like you don't have to necessarily love the trip as long as you're on board with the destination. And we've all been on road trips. You don't want to deal with all that nonsense, but it's a good time at the end. Parker and Menard in singles matches that's going to go about as well as you'd possibly expect. I don't think there's any drama in either of those matches. They'll both be about 5 minutes put together at best. They're a great tag team, but let's be real. The interesting one will be what we do with if I can, I'm going to put my fantasy booking hat on. Apparently I'm doing this a lot tonight. I'm seeing Garcia about to go in and tear up Starks before Sammy Guevara tries to, inserts himself instead and then proceeds to get beat. That's one way you can play it. The other way you play it is the other way you play it is Garcia does get it, but Sammy tries to interfere and it backfires. I think you're going to continue to see Guevara and Garcia, butting heads. I think that's an obvious one here.
Yep. I would agree with that. Yes.
And which one you see, 50-50. Either one works.
And either match would be phenomenal.
Yes.
And then, of course, we know what we're going to get out of Jericho, right? Like, because we're, of course, assuming we're going to get to the end of this gauntlet for a payoff, likely at Revolution. We know what we'll get out of Jericho. Jericho is just solid in the ring. He'll make Starks look like $1 million, but Starks doesn't even need a lot of help doing that. And then, we'll see sort of where we go with Ricky Starks. Again, sort of say what you will about Jericho and the JAS. Anybody you put around Jericho gets that shine that they need. And he's able to sort of help elevate these guys who need it. So again, we've always talked about this. The Jericho stuff sometimes seems to go longer than it needs to, but it does lead to more exposure for guys who don't get a lot of exposure. So I'm sort of here for that.
Yes. I will argue that after this, it probably should be over.
Agree 100%. Maybe not with Action Andretti, but with Ricky Starks, it certainly should be over.
I don't know, but Jericho pops me every single time he tries to use orphan as an insult in 2023. Like that, something about that is just so ridiculously wonderful that.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Why are all your insults stuck in like the 1950s, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's Jericho. We give him a pass, but it is funny him just constantly calling people orphans. It's just really funny. All right, moving on from this, we get an Elite promo, and they're in a gym shooting hoops. They're there with Kenny and the Invisible Hand Don Callis. Knock is there, and Brandon Cutler is of course shooting this, filming all of this. And that's when they call out Top Flight and tell them to bring AR Fox to Dynamite next week. They'll give him a Trios Championship match. But that's when the Firm rolls up and Stokely Hathaway asks them to confirm they're not doing anything this week to challenge the Elite to a match on Rampage. Against Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy. And the funny thing here is that Don Callis is talking about NFTs, and he's like, well, wait a minute. If Kenny's able to, get Matt Hardy and a one-winged angel, that NFT will go for a lot. Matt Hardy says the same thing about doing a twist of fate. And then Isaiah Cassidy grabs Kenny Omega after they say, sure, we'll give you your match. Isaiah Cassidy grabs Kenny Omega around the shoulder, and he moans into his ear. I don't remember what led to the moan, but I thought it was hilarious. And then of course after that, they go back to, the arena. And as we're sort of leading to the next match, commentary is like, oh, I must have had a pulled muscle or something. And they're like, yeah, I don't know what that was. I fucking was dying when he did the little moan into his ear. But a couple of fun matches sort of being lined up with the Elite here. So we're going to get the tune-up Friday night against the Firm. And then we'll get Top Flight and AR Fox next week on Dynamite. So that should be a lot of fun. And you know me, I'm always here for the Elite action. So more Bucks and Kenny on TV, I'm okay with it.
Absolutely. No, it should be great. I'm interested to see what we do on Rampage on Friday, just because of the fact that they've been telling this story on Dark and Elevation for several weeks now with Ethan Page and Matt Hardy, and Page trying to make Hardy and Zaya's life hell, owning their contracts and everything else. And Matt is now seemingly fully bought in. He is doing his best to try to, make Ethan Page happy and get along, and buying him gifts and buying him new gear, and and Ethan Page seems fully in. He and Matt Hardy seem now completely on the same page, and now Isaiah's kind of left out and is trying to figure out where he fits in everything. And so there's layers of conflict here in the Firm, and I think we're finally going to get to see part of that story on TV, which is great because it's been done very, very well. So I'm excited for that. I don't think anyone really genuinely believes that they're going to beat the Elite. this wasn't, I don't believe it was mentioned as an eliminator match or a title match even. I think it was just non-title, standard, fair, what have you. But
yeah, I think you're right. I don't believe they specifically said title match or eliminator. I think they just are having a match.
which it'll still be a lot of fun. I think I'm intrigued to see where the story goes with the firm. It should be a great tune-up for the Elite going into the title defense next week. And that the match is going to be absolutely bonkers. It's going to be so much fun. I would have to look it up to see if Kenny Omega and AR Fox have ever crossed paths. I'd be shocked if they didn't. They had both been on the independent scene for so long in the early 2000s. But off the top of my head, I don't know that they ever did. I don't know that they ever ran in the same circles. But
I mean, I could tell you this. What will happen on Dynamite next week will be phenomenal. Right? Yes. I mean, we know what we get. We know what we're going to get out of the Elite, clearly. We've seen everything that Top Flight has to offer, and they're fantastic. And, I think most of us have seen now what AR Fox can do, in the times that he's been on television. So that match should be just fantastic. And Friday night will be a lot of fun. I mean, Ethan Page is great. Matt Hardy's, great. And Isaiah Cassidy's great. So it should be a lot of fun. And we'll see what's sort of on the horizon for the Elite as they get past next week.
There it is. Looked it up in Squared Circle Wrestling out of Syracuse in 2CW. They crossed paths a couple of times in 2015.
Look at that.
They had a singles match, went to a no contest, and they had a tag team, six-man or tag team title falls count anywhere, Omega and the Bucks against AR Fox, Cheech, and Colin Delaney. So they've even kind of met in a trios function too. So this should be bonkers. It's going to be bodies flying everywhere. This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And also, I'd like to mention too, Kenny looks like a fucking $1 million now. He looked great tonight. Apparently they said there were visa issues, which was keeping him off TV for the last couple weeks. But
no issues keeping him out of the gym.
No, hell no. He's been working. So Kenny looks great. Everybody should keep an eye on these matches Friday and Wednesday. And what you should have been keeping your eye on after that segment was the American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher. This is another one of those MJF sort of gauntlet matches where as long as Danielson gets through it, he'll get his 60-minute Iron Man match at Revolution. I think if you were able to sort of look up Timothy Thatcher before we got to tonight, and you were able to sort of see some of the things that he's been able to do, you were kind of excited for this match because it's two guys who are sort of the same, same ilk in the ring, right? And that can make for a really fun match. And this was a fantastic. I thought this was a fantastic match. Just we'll cut to the end, of course, and the American Dragon Bryan Danielson does win by pinfall with the Busaiku knee. So Danielson does get away with his win. And then post-match, we do get a cut backstage where MJF and Takeshita are brawling back and forth. Some referees, Pat Buck, BJ Whitmer, security are able to come break them up. And Renee gets in with a microphone to announce that Tony Khan booked an eliminator match for next week, Takeshita versus MJF. And the reason I even bring that up here is because there's clearly Takeshita is sort of inserted into this story, right? He saved Danielson last week from getting destroyed. He ran Cage and MJF off. And MJF did call out Takeshita last week and basically say, think before you step into my business again. So clearly, we're going to get this match next week. Now, Do I think Takeshita is going to win and get a shot at that title? No, I do not. But it just shows you, jumping back to Takeshita, it shows you how highly they think of him. They're putting him in this angle, which is high visibility. He went against Cage. He's gone against Danielson. He's going to get MJF, the champion, next week. So just they think super high of him. We see it. But back to the actual match, just a fantastic match for these two. A nice showing for Timothy Thatcher on television too, to get some major US exposure.
100%. This had to be Bryan Danielson going to Tony Khan and, you know who I'd like to work that I've never worked before, and then Tony going, well, like, we'll find a way to make it happen, sure. And like,
yeah,
but oh my God, did we all benefit? For those of you who weren't familiar with Timothy Thatcher, I picture Bryan Danielson, only scruffier looking and with somehow more intensity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dragon brings the intensity, but Thatcher ratchets it up another level still. And this was just some fantastic work. The arm work that Thatcher did to set up towards the Fujiwara armbar was some fantastic stuff. Oh my! I cannot rave enough about this. There was a transition where Danielson got him in a backslide, and Thatcher escapes with his far arm, manages to shoulder roll his body right into position for the armbar, and like Danielson immediately has to start scrambling to reverse. Like, it was just so smooth, and just art out there tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this would certainly be, I mean, this show was a lot of fun, but I would say if you're going to make an effort to see any of the matches on the card, I mean, you should certainly, at this point, Bryan Danielson matches are appointment viewing. And this was nothing short of fantastic. So definitely go out of your way to see this. We're continuing the story, because, well, before we get back from commercial, there was, after this, a video package about Shane Strickland versus Brian Pillman Jr. And he's talking about, Dusty Rhodes getting under his skin, giving Keith Lee the Limitless moniker. So since he's not around and neither of his sons are around, Pillman's going to draw the short straw for his ire. So we still got this Dustin thing, going on. Fun that he brings up Keith Lee, because we haven't seen Keith Lee. He's been off TV, dealing with the stomp on the steps with the cinder block. Maybe we're sort of lining that up now by this, but yeah. So we'll see Pillman Jr. Now, I will say this. Hopefully we see a Brian Pillman Jr. who takes 2 steps forward, not 3 steps back. And I guess if you're going to put him in the ring with somebody you feel trustworthy to sort of help him look good, it's definitely Swerve.
Yeah. No, Pillman's always been a solid guy. He hasn't quite hit that next level yet, but there's never anything objectively bad about his work. They're running a sort of new Horseman thing with him and Brock Anderson that they just launched on Dark and Elevation this week. So these kind of got a direction, and it's an interesting idea that Swerve is now attacking, second generation guys.
Right.
I'm intrigued by that, and that can also play in if you want to double turn the guns.
Yeah.
Because Swerve already's got no love lost for Billy Gunn, and now you can go after his sons too, is again second generation guys who are taking up his time and his spotlight. But
good point.
It should be perfectly good. I'm intrigued to see where it goes, and yeah, anything that gets more Swerve on my TV, I'm down.
True, absolutely true. And Kyle, we do find out sort of like what's up next for Danielson, because back from commercial, Roosh and his crew are being interviewed backstage, and that's when MJF rolls up with a suitcase, or a briefcase, excuse me. And his Spanish is meh, but he does have one universal language, and he opens it up, and it's full of money. And he says this one is free. This one is free. He has 5 more just like it. All Roosh has to do is beat Bryan Danielson by any means necessary next week. So Roosh responds in Spanish, and after the translation, it's basically, yeah, we have a deal. But Max is skeptical since Roosh had a lot more to say, and he tells Roosh he doesn't have to like him. He just has to hold up his end of the bargain. So clearly we're going to get Danielson and Roosh next. That match should also be a ton of fun.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my goodness. I, as you can tell, I'm an unabashed Chris Hero mark. I had a moment. Kylie will tell you I always try to work Hero. I work Hero in on almost everything I talk about. But I really thought that when MJF said something about, no, you have to be a hero, I was like, is he really going to bring in? No, he could. He didn't. But dude, Roosh is going to be amazing. That's going to be a lights out match. I had a moment during this segment though where it was really especially jarring, this being a pre-tape, because he was on Dynamite in his new MJF horizontal striped shirt that is I think it's on Shop AEW right now.
Yes, I have to pre-order one, by the way, because I'm definitely going to wear that to work.
Yes. Then he comes in for this different color shirt, got the Burberry scarf on, got the belt, sunglasses. Find a continuity coordinator.
Right.
Fix that. But that said, oh my God, how can you complain? This match is going to be ridiculous. Danielson faces another former Ring of Honor world champion.
Yeah. Yeah, say what you will. I mean, this gauntlet he's been running has not been, just anybody, right? They've all been really sort of like high value opponents. So, this should be a fantastic match. But you're right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where they go to after Roosh, right? Like, and I think that's the big thing is every week it's like, well, okay, we sort of know like he's getting through this because this is what they're doing, right? But it's always like, who's next, and that's where the fun lies because you have to keep sort of ratcheting it up.
I thought I saw somebody on Twitter say that Excalibur mentioned on commentary that this was the last match in Danielson's gauntlet. I don't recall hearing that, but I'd have to go back and rewatch it on the DVR to check. But it would seem like a really odd choice to obviously end it this far out from Revolution too.
Yeah. I don't think you go all the way to Revolution, but yeah, this would be way early to end it.
Yeah, it's like I say, that's just some chatter that I saw. I'd have to go back and rewatch it to make sure, but either way, I'm ready. It's a different style. Thatcher,
sure.
Roosh, Takeshita. There's power, and then there's speed, and then there's technique, and there's technical, and you're making Danielson jump through all the different hoops.
Right, and he's been winning differently too. Sometimes it's been submission, sometimes it's been, the knee. So should be a ton of fun. Roosh has showed us, what he can do in the ring. So put him in with Danielson. Should be a ton of fun. Absolutely. Kyle, we get our women's match of the night, which is a TBS championship match. Jade Cargill going for her 50th win and retaining her title. Versus Red Velvet, the one that they've kicked out of the baddies. Jump into the end here. Jade Cargill does win by pinfall with Jaded, so she retains her championship, and she is now 50-0 in AEW. Now, some of those include tag team wins. They weren't doing that the whole time, but she's 50-0. And honestly, Kyle, again, just I feel like we're seeing a good progression out of Jade. I thought she was perfectly fine in this match. The reversal and the finishers sort of the ends of these matches we've been getting out of Jade have been fantastic, and I think it was the same thing tonight. It was sort of this story they've been telling. I think maybe this is blown off for the time being, and now the question sort of becomes, okay, now who is next for Jade? Because who's left? I think we've all said it. It's got to sort of be Chris Statlander, right? Like that's where we think this is going. Maybe that'll be the match at Revolution. Maybe that's where the belt comes off Jade. But it's sort of TBD.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine. Jade continues to develop. Her power and presence are both otherworldly, and done so much for her. I think there's an argument to be made. I said this on Twitter as I was watching, as I was live tweeting during the show. I think there's an argument to be made for Red Velvet as a TBS champion. But after this level of build, I don't think that Red Velvet would be a satisfactory end to the title reign. So this is, and I've heard people talk about this in booking before, this is why booking undefeated streaks is so difficult. Because the longer it goes, the more and more and more you put yourself into a corner with how you're going to end it. And making it be worthwhile for all the time invested to get there. And outside of Stat, I genuinely don't know who you can justify taking that spot. I don't know that Mercedes is ever coming, or that New Japan would allow it before Battle in the Valley and her shot against Kairi. But other than that, that's where we're at. And then after the match, you had an entirely different thing happen where you had Jade walk out with her daughter. There's a lovely moment there, celebrating with her daughter. Why is Jade not a babyface?
I mean, I agree
I
with
think
you
a Jade
there.
babyface run is right there.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think that eventually they will sort of flip her to be a baby face. I think she would be a bigger face of like the company if she was a baby face. But of course, the chase is in the gold, right? And sort of who's going to break the streak, and maybe that's what humbles her, or out of whoever takes the belt from her and breaks the streak, maybe it doesn't immediately turn her and she's humbled, but maybe it's like, the baddies thing isn't working. You're not, Layla Gray, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Red Velvet's not with us, so this is over and I'm going to figure out what's next. I think they can do it. Do they want to at this point, is sort of like where we're at.
Well, I also think that a potential babyface turn lets you play with Jade showing up with the homegrown in this blood and guts feud. And then you have Jade as this major force of nature equalizer on behalf of Britt and Hayter and possibly Ruby and that end of things.
Yeah, and it actually, that's a great segue into the next segment, because Renee is backstage in the trainer's room with Britt Baker, DMD, getting evaluated, and Baker says she's fine, and then Ruby Soho rolls up, and Britt is, basically saying, well, your girls attacked me, and it's kind of weird that you're showing up now, but Ruby maintains she had nothing to do with the attack, so still sort of TBD on that, but I'm with you. Just to sort of jump back to your Jade point, I'm with you. She could sort of enter this feud. Don't know if they'll do that. They don't seem to sort of put, their champions into this feud. I think it would be different with Jamie because she's clearly got the tie to Britt Baker. But maybe that's sort of the story that comes out of this. I mean, we could easily see this sort of being like, Ruby is sort of could be the ringleader, and she had Saraya, sort of following, sort of the blueprint that she worked out, so she could turn, Ruby could turn, that is, and then, it could lead to Britt and Jamie having to recruit people, like we think possibly going to a Blood and Guts, not Jade, excuse me. Britt has to recruit people, so it's maybe her and Jamie, and now we've got to find some others. Maybe Jade can be part of that. So everything's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, you could play some interesting versions of that where Saraya and Tony's team are trying to recruit her, while Britt and Jamie are trying to, everybody's trying to go after the blue chip prospect.
Sure. Interesting stories that are being told in that women's division. Really good job out of them lately. And then, Kyle, we're at our main event. Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe for the AEW TNT Championship, and it's no holds barred. We saw a lot of action in this. Joe gets color really quick in this match. Darby comes flying out sort of into a table that Joe is holding. We see everything that you could sort of think of here. Darby had a jacket or a hoodie with tacks in it. He drops a coffin drop with that. Couldn't get his arm through the sleeve. It was like stuck, but he made the best of the situation. He also cut the ring mat loose, and he pulled the padding away so that they had exposed boards. But the shocking thing here, Kyle, excuse me, the shocking thing here is that Samoa Joe wins by pinfall with the muscle buster, sort of like an avalanche muscle buster, into the exposed boards. So he's your TNT champion again. Don't know if anybody sort of had that on their bingo card. Darby sort of losing it, maybe a month and a half after taking that belt back. The interesting thing, beyond that, the interesting thing is that Wardlow makes his sort of entrance post-match and charges the ring. He takes Joe down with some mounted punches. He gets his jacket off. He's all fired up. And he's about to go into the Powerbomb Symphony. But Joe is able to kind of scurry away. Security hits the ring. Wardlow beats everybody up. He's going to powerbomb them as the king of television sort of looks on. The camera isn't able to catch him throw the security guard, I guess, over the top rope into the others. But that brings us to the end of the show. So, Kyle, did you have any inkling that Joe was going to win this belt back?
It surprised me. It really did. I felt like Darby's run had some more legs in it, especially because so much of it was predicated on you're bringing in guys from everywhere. You brought in Kushida to take a shot at him. There was still a lot of fun that could be had there. But I can see where you'd want Wardlow and Joe for Wardlow to get a chance to get his belt back that Joe took from him. That said, I don't know that Wardlow and Joe needs a title right now. I think that's probably hot enough, and you probably could have kept Darby going. But if he was going to continue to have matches like this one against Joe, I'm not sure that you can keep Darby alive long enough to have a title reign.
Yeah, for sure.
That guy hates his own body.
Every week I see Darby wrestle a match, and half the time I'm saying to myself on the couch, Darby, you don't need to be doing this. Extend your in-ring life. I mean, he just, like you said, not that, he just doesn't have any caution with what he does. Sort of impressive.
You had him brawling in the stands, and Joe just spiked him over one of the guardrails like a football. And had Joe just huck him up backwards up over the top rope to the floor, and just the level of brutality. And and you had Joe just gushing blood from that. I got to think it was the edge of that table that must have caught him right on the eye socket there on the eyebrow.
Yeah, he definitely took it the hard way.
Because that's what little I remember from anatomy and physiology and whatnot. Like that's a whole super vascular area right there. It doesn't take much to open that right up and bleed like mad.
Yep.
And it did. Like Joe may need a couple of stitches in that tonight, but
for sure. But here's the other thing too, is we also can't forget about Hobbs. Like Hobbs has an issue with both of these guys as well, right? Like Wardlow and Samoa Joe. So any thoughts of the possibility at Revolution sort of building this to a 3-way match for the championship?
I mean, at this point, Hobbs has issues with everyone.
It's very true.
You could. I don't know that I see a need to run back the 3-way that you just did. You could, and then you can play with the ending a little bit, maybe the Wardlow getting some revenge or something, but I'm not sure how that doesn't make Hobbs look powerless. I think the meat of the story is Wardlow and Joe.
I agree.
And I think you can let Hobbs wait and pick the bones of the winner, potentially.
Yeah, maybe somehow Wardlow comes away with the belt, and now Hobbs is going to go after Wardlow. I think everybody's sort of hoping at some point maybe that we see Miro reemerge and get involved in some way. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. Just monsters against monsters.
I'd be down with that. I'm also down with Miro reappearing and murking Orange Cassidy and taking that belt too.
Very true. Very true. That could be very much like sort of the match we saw tonight, right? It's like Joe and Darby could be Orange Cassidy and oh my God, spacing. Miro. Yes, thank you. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Kyle, it was a fun episode of Dynamite tonight. They've been on fire over the past. I mean, since the year turned over, Dynamite has been just really fantastic. I feel week over week. Of course, there's things that maybe we don't love involved in those shows, but I think from an overall perspective, these shows have been really solid.
No, they've been great. It's they've really been on a tear. I don't think that Revolution seems super clear yet, which is a little interesting given that we're only about a month out from that. But they're putting out a great product every single week. Great wrestling. They're moving stories forward. They're telling great stories. Excuse me. They're setting up a lot of fun. And I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I've been enjoying the ride.
For sure. Well, Kyle, let's get into some news and notes from the past week. Just our quick shots here. For those of you who watch the WWE, you probably noticed that Ricky Starks was on camera accompanying the American Nightmare on Saturday ahead of winning the Royal Rumble. So he was there on camera, and one of the best things is that he put a tweet out after that, sort of in response to him being on, in the picture. Damn, they brought back GTV, and that was an angle that the WWE, ran years ago. So it was just a funny response from Ricky Starks, and a little nice exposure on WWE television for Ricky Starks.
I don't think they ever paid that angle off either. I think at one point it was supposed to be that Goldust was behind it, but then they kind of balked on that. But that was more in the 90s. And as I recall, Starks did do some extra work for WWE back, probably 5-6 years ago now, when he was working like independents out of Texas and a lot of the places around the South and the Southeast. So I got to think they at least know who he is. But that said, I'd be really shocked. It turned into this whole discourse about, Ricky Starks is clearly gone to WWE first chance he gets. I don't see it. Sorry. If he does, good for him. But this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get the spec, from from people when you see stuff like this. And again, I'm sort of with you. You're at the point now where it's like, if some of these guys, when their contracts are up, they jump over to the E, great. You sort of know what you're getting into based on their prior track record. Even looking at some of the other guys who've been there for a long time now, right? Like Finn Balor. Finn Balor never got his shot back at the title that he had to relinquish due to injury. There's a lot of guys who get stuck in mid-card hell. We know what they think about tag teams over there. So it's like, if these guys want to go, they get paid and make that jump. Certainly fine. A guy like Cody Rhodes certainly built his worth back up in the eyes of the E, and they wanted him back because they saw the value, and that's great. He'll get his shot at the title, and he'll probably win it. I don't know if he's taking it off of Roman Reigns. I know what's going on, even though I don't necessarily watch that. Just reading through a lot of the sheets and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going to take it off Reigns at WrestleMania or not, but Cody will get that title at some point, to sort of avenge Dusty, and eventually he'll lose that, and he'll sort of just be back in the normal picture. And who knows, when his contract's up, it's going to be another, well, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? This stuff goes on all the time. So let it happen.
Yeah, let's talk about it. It's great. No, and get the bag. Get the bag while you can.
Sure.
I remember back in the mid 2000s when Punk was about to jump over to WWE, and that was about to happen. He had a Q&A on his website, because back when wrestlers actually had their own websites, not just Facebook and Twitter pages. And somebody asked him point blank, "What are you going to do if WWE misuses you like insert name here?" I don't remember what it was.
Right.
And Punk, without missing a beat, was like, "I'll probably buy a Hummer and a nice house, just like he did."
Right.
There you go. Get that bag.
Yeah. Get paid, get laid, and move on. And speaking of the E2, something that came out this week, just segueing into our next sort of note. Obviously, Samoa Joe, sort of, we know his past with the E. He was one of the bigger names to get released in 2021 in April. He was brought back a couple months later to work in NXT. He was released again once they sort of went under the 2.0 makeover, and they sort of kept him off TV. They said due to injury, he relinquished his title. Well, he was on Renee Paquette's The Sessions podcast, and he was talking about sort of the thoughts behind those who were affected. He said, initially, as I understand it, unconfirmed, there were issues between the two upper echelons of management, and they were playing out their war with the careers and the contracts of the people underneath them. After the initial one, I didn't have much of a chance to breathe because essentially I was hired back within hours. And then the second time, I just kind of chuckled because I realized it was very much the same situation. At the time, I wasn't bitter or mad. The truth of it is, and this is, I guess, to give WWE some credence, is that I was expensive. I was expensive to keep around. If cutting my contract, if they say that saved the company money, trust me, I believe it did. I wasn't hot about that. It was just more the silliness of the situation, what they were doing, and the reasoning why they were doing it, which I can never officially confirm, but I've heard from enough people that I have a pretty good idea, including many of the people involved. After that, I think I spent a day kind of pissed, and like I say, more at the situation than the actual firing. And then all these super awesome opportunities materialized literally out of nowhere. So he went to AEW. But basically what he was saying is like, it was all almost like he was a pawn sort of stuck in between this power struggle internally at that company. And he seems to feel like a lot of other people felt the same way. Hard to sort of argue with feeling that, seeing the way that he was sort of handled, released, brought back, released again. So just some interesting notes there from Samoa Joe on Renee Paquette's The Sessions podcast. So certainly, if you want to hear more out of Samoa Joe, you can check out The Sessions with Renee.
Yeah. And this is something that we, as sort of outside observers, talked about and thought about a lot when we were seeing releases come. And there was very much a sense among observers that anybody that had the perception of a Triple H guy, that was the Civil War that you're kind of seeing. Anybody that had that perception of being supportive of or a favorite of Triple H wound up getting the axe. A lot of them did,
Right.
and that was the kind of the power play in play there that he's referring to, in case anybody doesn't know. But yeah, that's a lot of us were observing that in real time, going like, oh wow, who's next to go, and figuring, yep, there went Johnny Gargano, yep, there went Samoa Joe, yep, there went Karrion Kross, yep, there.
Yeah, I mean,
there went William Regal.
Right. Yeah, maybe one of the most surprising ones. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's always interesting to hear the thoughts behind the talent who had to sort of go through it. So hard to blame them. We're always just the casual observers. So definitely check it out if you want to hear more of, Joe's insights and what he has to say with Renee. Kyle, some really big news in the wrestling world yesterday was from GCW, of all places.
Yep.
GCW broke that Kota Ibushi was going to be returning to the ring and making his GCW debut at Collective 2023 in Los Angeles. So they did announce that Ibushi was going to make his debut. And that sort of confirmed some of the news that was out there about him being a free agent. Of course, nobody was totally sure, but New Japan did confirm yesterday his free agent status, saying, with the conclusion of his contract period on January 31st, 2023, Kota Ibushi has departed New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ibushi had been recovering from injury since October 2021. We apologize to Ibushi's fans for the abrupt announcement and join them in wishing Ibushi the very best in all his future endeavors. He did tweet a response, and via translation it said, there were various conflicts, but thank you to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I chose the position of being free to renew my contract. Thank you for your long and condensed period. Now again, translation. So, thank you from now on. I hope you will watch over my path. I don't know what will happen. And then, of course, Kota Ibushi, had the GCW signing, and they did announce a match tonight, and I was trying to look for it, Kyle. I lost it here, but they did announce the actual match for GCW, right? Do you have that?
Oh, it's going to be bonkers. It's going to be Kota Ibushi versus Speedball Mike Bailey at Bloodsport as part of the Collective, which is going to be absolutely insane. I am super excited for that, because obviously Mike Bailey has been on an absolute tear in 2022 and into 2023, and Ibushi is Ibushi. There's no way this is not going to be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, that should be a ton of fun. And Ibushi also spoke to the Twitter account Dark Emerald Fusion. He's done a number of interviews with them in the past about his decision, just to sort of close loop on Ibushi. And he said, about money, I think it's very much unnecessary. But for me, the things I care about and what's necessary for me are more important. So I don't want to be in a match without meaning. There aren't a lot of matches without meaning, but I think I'll show up in places in the future that truly and fully understand me. When asked specifically, now that was his quote, he was asked specifically about rejoining Kenny Omega in AEW, and he sort of said condensed probably later. The quote was, "A lot of my best friends are in AEW. My younger peers in Japan are also growing up there. Nonetheless, I don't think of going to AEW immediately. I want to have a school in Japan. Once it's been worked out, I think I'll talk with AEW." So it's not off the table. I think a lot of people would love to see the Golden Lovers back together. I think it would be fucking fantastic if he went to AEW, but it will be great to see some of these other bookings that he puts in place. The GCW thing was a huge, I think, out of left field. I was like, of all places he
that
could probably go do something. I didn't ever think GCW would be one of them, but kudos to GCW for snagging a booking out of him right away.
Yeah, like there's a lot of fun that can be had there. It's an interesting roster. Obviously, having Speedball there for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is going to be great. As far as GCW guys, Jordan Oliver stands out as somebody that could be a lot of fun. I think you could do something interesting with, say, Gringo Loco. I'm trying to rattle off names now, and I'm just off the top of my head, and I'm struggling a little bit, but it's still like there's a lot of fun to be had there. And
yeah,
the number of fresh matchups that could await Kota Ibushi in the United States is off the charts. I don't think you see. I would be shocked if WWE doesn't make overtures to him, but at the same time, given the status of his body, the fact that he is close to, if not over 40, I would be genuinely shocked if they brought him in, especially because Ibushi has also wanted to be a freelancer for a little while. I don't know how well they'd be willing to play ball with that. Whereas I think Tony Khan and AEW would be much more likely to say, yeah, until you're ready to sign a contract, yeah, come in on a 1-match deal, 2-match deals, and per appearance fees, and and play ball there.
Yeah, I mean, their contracts, the AEW contracts definitely are more open to working elsewhere and having outside bookings and signings and all that kind of stuff than the WWE. So it is more, you would think it's more attractive to guys like Ibushi who sort of do want to be independent and sort of freelance a little bit. That being said, it seems pretty clear that like he's just going to focus on some of the bookings he's got in front of him, other offers. If you ask me to put money on it, he's going to be in an AEW ring at some point. He'll find himself with Kenny Omega again, and I think everybody will get what they're looking for. I don't see him going to I don't think they get him. They don't have the greatest track records with some of the Japanese talent that they've brought in. It seemed like they got Nakamura for a while, and now it's almost like they don't know what they're doing with Nakamura. It doesn't seem like to me. I don't watch it regularly.
To their defense, Nakamura himself has even said, "I'm just there to cash checks and surf."
Sure, of course. I mean, he knows. So we'll see what happens. But good for Ibushi. Good to see he'll be getting back in a ring, and hopefully we'll have some more eyes on him in the United States than he's been able to get in the past. Let's see here. Moving on, a couple of very specific AEW things. It was announced today that AEW is revamping their community outreach program, and it includes restructuring, enhanced strategic pillars, and addition of key staff. So Tony Khan announced the company's refreshed and refocused community outreach program under a new name. It's going to be AEW Together now. And moving forward, it will operate as AEW's philanthropic initiative designed to foster lasting positive change in each market that they visit. They will have a new director of community engagement, Caitlin Borden. And AEW Together will dedicate efforts and initiatives around 4 core pillars: next generation, focusing on youth programs; equity, with an emphasis on human rights and social change; service, helping those in need of servicing, helping those in need in the local area, and 4, wellness, focusing on physical and mental health. Basically, they're going to continue larger scale national partnerships with charitable organizations throughout the year, including Culture City, the American Heart Foundation, and Oceana. In tandem, the team is going to continue to develop collaborations with local nonprofits and organizations to support communities in need. And AEW Together will continue fundraising efforts and awareness campaigns for groups that align with the program's core values. Their relaunch kicks off today, or yesterday, technically, now if you're with us live. But it's the start of American Heart Month with a CPR training session done in coordination with the American Heart Association for AEW talent and staff ahead of Dynamite that was tonight in Dayton, Ohio. And again, the team is going to report into to Mega. Effective immediately, as we said, Caitlin Borden is going to be the director of community engagement. She's going to be responsible for driving the overall strategy, managing fundraising targets and overseeing team members. And she's going to also manage the evaluation of proceeds, data, and results, and work to secure, develop partnerships and implement activations. Amanda Hubert is also going to continue working with the organization. She is going to be the community engagement coordinator, spearheading the identification of local organizations for collaboration in AEW's touring markets. That means coordinating logistics for activations and meet and greets, as well as managing all team communications. Mark Henry, Paul White, Jake Roberts, and Captain Sean Dean have been promoted to special advisors to AEW Together, where they'll bring their experience and passion for community relations to help identify partner organizations across the country, assisting incorporating talent participation, and provide counsel on enhancing activations. So good stuff out of AEW. Clearly, we saw prior to this sort of revamp, they were actively working on some of these initiatives. It seems like now they're putting more behind it as they're starting to grow. They're able to do more, and it's good for them as an organization to be able to continue this effort.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely. The effort itself is fantastic. All the names listed are great choices. I, for one, think that MJF is very dastardly and very clever to use his pull as champion to get Captain Sean Dean put onto this beat just to keep him away from him in the ring. I mean, that's just next level planning by MJF there. We all know he fears the captain. But no, this is great stuff. Nothing that you could possibly be upset about here, or even though I'm sure people are trying. I saw some nonsensical discourse about WWE at one point started using Then Now Forever Together, and that people tried to make the connection to the AEW using the words. Come on, it's a super common word for philanthropic outreach. Let's not do this right now. I love that we're using some of the veterans in addition to everything that they can contribute backstage to use their star power to, like Mark Henry, like Jake Roberts, like Paul White, to use their star power to help give back in these communities too. This is super cool. And everything that they've done with Culture City over the last few years to help make AEW events a little bit more accessible for people who are on the spectrum or who have any other types of disabilities or are differently abled. Shoot, it's great work, and you love to see it.
Yeah, it's what I love to see is simply the fact that they're growing it and sort of continuing to organize it, and it's not just something that's been forgotten about, right, and sort of pushed to the back. So good news from an AEW standpoint today. And I agree with you, the team that they've sort of put around this initiative, you couldn't ask for some better people to be involved. And that's from the top down. The second big news that we got late tonight, not late, but right, I think sort of before the start of the show tonight, was about AEW running house shows. And so this sort of goes hand in hand with the hiring of Jeff Jarrett last year, where it was reported that one of his duties was going to be sort of in charge of non-televised live events or house shows. And they've only run one in the past, 4 years of basically their existence. That was the House Always Wins in 2021. And they did indicate that they saw that changing in 2023. So they did announce it tonight that they're going to start doing these under a House Rules banner. So the press release said that Tony Khan announced the launch of AEW House Rules, a live event series taking place on select weekends in markets across the country. Continuing the promotion's meteoric rise and following the success of AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays on TBS and Rampage on Fridays on TNT, fans can expect an up-close and personal experience at local venues along with a spectacular and engaging environment. These non-televised live events will showcase an electrifying mix of matchups featuring the stars of AEW. Each event offers an even more immersive experience for fans, including customized merchandise, unique ways to engage with featured talent, and in-show interactions different from what is featured on TV, televised AEW programming. The first House Rules show will take place on Saturday, March 18th in Troy, Ohio, at the Hobart Arena, and will feature Ohio's own Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Dr. Britt Baker, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and many more. Tickets for all AEW House Rules shows start at $20 plus fees. Can be purchased at AEWTix.com starting Friday, February 3rd at 10 a.m. And further house dates will be announced in the coming weeks. So they did say that they were going to start this initiative, and they didn't give many more details. But I think what we had sort of said, Kyle, was the thinking was going to be maybe they're going to hit some of these smaller markets that they can't do the televised in because, or not that they can't, that they choose sort of not to because they could sell more tickets. So, for example, the Hobart Arena holds less than 4,000. So it is an intimate setting when you look at it that way, right? But Troy, Ohio is not a Dayton. I don't know much about the geography of Ohio, but when you think about larger cities, you're thinking about, Cleveland, Cincinnati. I throw Dayton, maybe Toledo. So Troy is definitely, I'm sorry?
Columbus
too, sorry. But certainly Troy is not sort of that top tier. So it does seem that they're going to be sort of maybe going into some of these smaller areas. So who knows? Maybe in this area where I'm at in the tri-state, they're not really going to run any of these house shows. We might have to travel a little bit further outside to some of the smaller venues, but who knows? They're going to start small and maybe they're going to grow bigger. So we'll see. And the other interesting thing is too, Kyle, that the graphic that they had for this seemed like there might be some sort of Ring of Honor presence at these shows. Maybe we don't know what's going on with the Ring of Honor. Maybe they choose to do some taping for Ring of Honor television at these shows in front of a live crowd, sort of when they go on the road. Nothing in that press release says anything about that. But just sort of the way my mind thinks, they're going to figure out sort of maybe ways to tape some things for Ring of Honor or something like that. But a good announcement from AEW. They are starting to expand their reach.
Yes, and you bring up Ring of Honor, and that's a great point there. Recognizing that Ring of Honor is already kind of a niche product, I think it behooves them to try to explore smaller venues that you can put Ring of Honor in. And this house show experiment, it's not really an experiment, it's this process for them is really going to be something that can help you do that in markets that might not necessarily otherwise get live wrestling, which,
right.
When ROH was Sinclair owned, a lot of what they did was dictated by which markets had Sinclair owned stations in it, and they would get live events, TV tapings, what have you. They came by my neck of the woods in Southwest Michigan here a couple of times. They ran a show in Grand Rapids. They ran a show in Kalamazoo. They ran a show, so that was great. And those were buildings that held maybe 3,500 to 5,000 people at most. And you're not going to drop an AEW into there. This, about the smallest AEW is going to get is when they went to Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, for instance, and that's a good 8,000 to 10,000 seats at least. So,
right.
And this is something that ROH desperately needs to do, is tour and get live shows going again. TV's important, yes, but being able to get out on the road and get the product in front of eyeballs was such a huge driver for ROH, and to be able to do it again is obviously going to be huge for its rebirth.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I mean, some of the things that they say here, interactivity in the live show or in the house shows, excuse me, and stuff like that, different than television. Some of that is definitely intriguing, and especially as far as Ring of Honor goes too, with them saying that there's going to be maybe less presence on AEW television once they get rolling, would sort of seem to make sense to maybe throw some of it on a house show. And like you said, to tour it and get eyeballs on some of those wrestlers. So should be interesting. Only one of these dates sort of announced at the moment for, as we said, Troy, Ohio. And that's on, again, Saturday, March 18th at the Hobart Arena. Tickets go on sale February 3rd, 10 a.m., AEWTix.com, starting at $20 plus fees. So if you're in that area, definitely try to get there. They're calling for a 7 p.m. bell time, so it's not a day show. It is a nighttime show. Don't know how long it'll run, but I'm sure if I know AEW, they tend to give you bang for your buck. So it should be a fun event. And Kyle, with that story, that's the end of our news and notes, and that's the end of our show. It has been an epic.
Nailed it.
So, Kyle, I'm going to throw it to you first so you can do your own plugs this time and sort of throw out whatever you want to plug for yourself. So please tell the people where they can find you and what they should be on the lookout for.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle K. Sparks. There I'm usually doing things like live tweeting Rampage, live tweeting Dynamite. I've got a couple of kids of my own, I'm talking about there. You got baby money at home, but So I'm not always able to live tweet like Dark and Elevation like your boy Schlong does, but that's okay. He's got that covered on at Mark Order Pod. I'll throw that in there while I'm on it. I also am obviously doing a lot of Ring of Honor stuff. Myself and Kylie Fuller are working on the Romantics. That's ROH Mantics, for the Romanticized Wrestling platform. You can follow that on Twitter at Romantic Wrestle. And there's where we're talking ROH, all things. We're going to be talking the Jay Briscoe Tribute Show. You can find on the Romanticized Wrestling YouTube channel where we discussed our goals for 2023 for ROH. I've talked about a few of those things on this show just now we had tonight. And really anything that I'm doing, you can find on my Twitter feed. So give me a follow at Kyle K. Sparks, and we'll talk some wrestling.
I will certainly say this. Kyle knows his shit when it comes to wrestling, and especially Ring of Honor. So it is always a pleasure when we get to bring you on here to talk wrestling, and certainly support Kyle and Kylie and all of their efforts with the Romantics, and give them a follow for sure. So as far as we go here on the Mark Order podcast, we'll be back to our normal sort of crew next week with Kate and Schlong. You guys know where to follow Kate and what her schedule is. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'm assuming this week all of her shit's off because she's on the cruise, but who knows? Give her a follow and make sure you're following what she's doing. Schlong is always at Mark Order Pod tweeting. And if you're following the Twitter, you may get some random stuff out of him throughout his cruise vacation. So keep an eye out. He was giving some insights as to what was going on in his trip today. So make sure you keep an eye on the Twitter.
Make sure you don't walk out with them cabin boys.
Yeah, you got to see how the cabin and the pool boy sort of stuff is going with Schlong. We're keeping our fingers crossed here in the Northeast. As far as us on the show in general, I mean, I'm always here Wednesday nights at on the Mark Order Podcast. Follow us on all of our social platforms at Mark Order Pod. If you follow us on Twitter, you can click the link tree, and we have links to all of our socials. You can find them: our YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitter, or not our Twitter because you'd be on Twitter, but Twitter's in there. Instagram, TikTok, etc. So make sure you give us some follows. We appreciate that. It definitely helps us out on our social platforms and in some other ways. Thank you to everybody who watched along with me and Kyle tonight. We appreciate you guys. We saw you chatting along here. Jesse, Asian Joe, Gordon Post, Eric Freeds was in here for a while. I saw a couple other people pop in. Mike Peterson was joining us for a while. Mrs. Money was here early on. So thank you all for checking us out here live tonight. For those of you listening in podcast format, we love you guys too. If you haven't checked us out in video format, you should definitely try to check it at some point. Some of the stuff we do here live on camera is just wild. The Concerned Citizen, the Captain, every now and again maybe will pop in. But certainly putting an image to some of the things you're hearing sometimes is hilarious. So you can go to our YouTube. All of these live on in perpetuity in the archives on YouTube. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, in any of those platforms, your podcast platforms on YouTube, if you make sure you subscribe to us, like, rate, review, smash that like or follow button, whatever they say these days. That helps us out greatly on all those platforms. To sort of show up in more places. So if you take a few minutes out of your day to help support us like that, we absolutely appreciate it. The other thing is, as we mentioned before, you can buy a t-shirt if you want to spend your hard-earned dollars on us at the Mark Order Podcast store. Kyle is definitely pointing to it. I always mix up which way to go. I got it right this time. Over here. It's prowrestlingtees.com/markorderpod, or the link is in our link tree. We have 2 shirts that are a front print, 2 shirts that are front and back print. So check it out. If you'd like to support us financially, you can pick up a shirt. I will call people to thank you for buying a t-shirt. I owe people calls. I know I do. I'm usually pretty good with it. But my schedule's been crazy lately. If you can't spend your hard-earned dollars, or you choose not to, that's fine. We still love you. But why don't you pick up some free stickers? Go to the link tree, hit the link for request a free sticker, and then you just leave us your name, your email address, your mailing address, and the country you live in, and then we will send you out some free Mark Order Podcast stickers. Comes with a nice letter, hand-signed in ink by yours truly, and I send it out on my dime. So what's it going to hurt you? Nothing. Just send us the address. We'll send out stickers anywhere in the world, Kyle K. Sparks. I sent them out to Ireland, I think Spain, Canada, all over Canada. And then we're over across the United States. You know it. So certainly request stickers. We'll send them out. And as I said, we will be back next week with our normal crew of characters to hear how the cruise went 10:15 after Dynamite ends. So make sure you check us out. Kyle, again, my extreme thanks to have you here and be able to join us. It is a pleasure anytime you get to join us. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, dude. I love having you on and talking about this stuff. So anytime I will reach out to you and see if you're available because I love having you on. And this is not just me, trying to throw plugs out for myself, but certainly if you ever need somebody to talk Ring of Honor, I'd be more than happy on coming to you and Kylie's show and talking more Ring of Honor. So yeah, I'm always game for that.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, Kyle. And for the rest of you guys, we'll talk to you next week. So make sure you stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.